Chapter 4187. Yu Jiwei smiled and replied, because I'm the man who needs to challenge until the end. Xiao Huahua is not only my partner, but also my bread and butter. Why do you say that Xiao Huahua is your bread and butter? At this moment, the host did not think that Xiao Huahua was a hen that could only lay eggs. Yu Jiwei replied, Xiao Huahua can lay eggs, so I have to take good care of it. I rely on it for protein every day. The host was also shocked. At the same time, he felt that he had just asked a silly question. The interview was over. Even though the host still wanted to ask a lot of questions, time allowed, so he could only let it go. He watched as Yu Jiwei held Xiao Huahua's hand. Xiao Huahua did not seem to be afraid of the crowd at all and obediently followed by his side. At this moment, the comments on the screen changed again. I suddenly want to raise a chicken, the kind that can lay eggs. My mother is no longer afraid that I lack protein. If my chicken lays eggs, I promise to eat one every day. I want one too, I want one too. This brother is amazing. He even knows how to raise chickens. Just based on his brain, I'm a fan. Trolls, it's just a show. Do you really think he knows how to raise chickens? He just wants to attract attention. That chicken must have been found by the company for him. How can raising chickens be so simple? If he could raise chickens, what would the chicken farm be for? Waiting for that chicken to die. When the time comes, it will become chicken soup in his bowl. If he directly said that he wanted to bring a chicken in and eat it, it would be fine. Now he says that he wants to raise chickens and eat eggs. When the chickens die, he'll eat meat and soup. The gains won't make up for the losses. Yu Jiwei could not see the comments. He had already boarded the ship. Tang Guo was his manager, and any assistants were not allowed to follow him. They could only stay on the coast and watch the live broadcast. Soon, the participants boarded the ship. From this moment on, the live broadcast room would be live 24 hours a day. At night, there were fewer activities for celebrities. Some people who could not sleep liked to go to the live broadcast room to chat. In addition, the live broadcast room also opened a gift function. However, the audience had to wait for a month before they could send gifts to the designated participants. The big ship sailed away. At this moment, the live broadcast was of the participants' lives on the ship. Occasionally, it would switch to the scenery of the sea and some interviews of the participants. This time, Yu Jiwei was the most outstanding person, so naturally, he had to be given more screen time. Yu Jiwei was caught and asked a lot of questions. Some were ordinary, and some were more difficult. The host even asked why Yu Jiwei didn't bring a tent or a sleeping bag. Yu Jiwei said, I can build a house. House to build a house was hut, it was just a little to build a house, it was just to build a house to build a house. It was to build a house. To build a house to build a house. If one were to ask him how he would stay for the first few days, of course, he would use eggs to exchange with other people. It shouldn't be too much for an egg to stay for a night. When the audience heard that Yu Jiwei could build houses, they became more and more curious about him. A fan, I suspect that Brother Yu really thinks that acting is a dead end, so he went to raise chickens. Look, he can even build his own house now. Raising chickens is also good. Maybe Brother Yu will post some updates about raising chickens from time to time. I wonder if Brother Yu will give fans a discount if they buy eggs. Xiao Huahua is really growing well. Her feathers are so soft that I'm a little envious. She must have been raised well. Following the discussions of the fans, spectators, and trolls, all the contestants were sent to the isolated island 3 hours later. The staff quickly chased everyone off the ship. Then, they turned around and left. The participants looked at the departing ship. They really looked a little pitiful. This place is too clean. The crew is so ruthless. They cleaned up all the traces of their previous lives. They didn't even leave a bowl behind. Chapter 4188. Didn't we understand it before we came? This is how the production team is. It's impossible to take advantage of a loophole. Other than Yu Jiwei, everyone brought tents. They looked at Yu Jiwei silently, then went to set up their tents and started to form teams. At most, 5 people would form a team, and at least 2 people would form a team. There were also many people who didn't want to form a team. They had seen too many teams, but in the end, because of things that happened, many people didn't want to form a team. Moreover, if they were eliminated, they would have to take away what belonged to them. There was no benefit at all. So far, no one had the intention to form a team with Yu Jiwei, even if he really brought a chicken. Yu Jiwei only had 1 chicken, and it only laid 1 egg a day. If he wanted to eat it, he would definitely have to exchange. It was impossible for him to take advantage of others. There were many people here. In addition to tents and pots, some people also chose to bring food. Although it was a fixed amount, it could last for a few days. They weren't willing to exchange food. Yu Jiwei didn't mind this. He found a suitable place to build a thatched hut and took root there. He got some stones and placed them there. From today onwards, he would live here. Taking advantage of the time, he needed to find tree trunks and hay to build a thatched hut. He tied Xiao Huahua's rope to his waist. Wherever he went, Xiao Huahua would follow him and catch insects on the ground to eat. The miniature flying camera had also followed Yu Jiwei. Although the main camera of the live broadcast was for the public, users with phones and computers could choose who to watch. Those who were interested in Yu Jiwei all clicked on his camera. They saw him wandering around the forest just now and didn't know what he was going to do. Tang Guo was also looking at her phone. When she saw Yu Jiwei holding a machete and chopping a withered tree, she wasn't worried anymore. She planned to observe Yu Jiwei for a week. When he got used to living on the island, it was time to look for artists. She only had 3 artists under her, so she felt a little disadvantaged. System, dear host, I want to remind you of something. What is it? Did you forget something very important? Tangwa didn't feel that she had forgotten anything. Did I? Oh, someone is going to cry in the toilet. Dear host, you have no conscience. You forgot about me again. The system sighed. You only care about raising cows. Your big cutie is going to cry. If we haven't met, it means that we're not fated to meet in this lifetime. Aren't I still busy? System, scumbag woman, I'm a scumbag. It didn't rain that night, which was good news for Yu Jiwei. If it rained, he would have no place to stay. He tried his best to avoid other people, especially artists. Otherwise, if he got too close and the other party didn't invite him into the tent to rest, he would probably be scolded for being cold and indifferent by the audience. If she was asked to rest in the tent, the audience would scold her for putting on a show. In any case, it was wrong whether he did it or not. Therefore, most of the people who came to participate in this program wanted to have a good reputation, so they tried their best to set up their tents as far away from the others as possible. However, there were also some people who wanted to make a name for themselves. They came over and asked Yu Jiwei if he wanted to enter his tent to rest together. They were all men, and the tent was big enough for them to stay for a night. Of course, Yu Jiwei had to refuse. Even if he wanted to stay for a night, he had to exchange something for it. Otherwise, he would be taking advantage of her, which was against the rules. Chapter 4189. He had already thought it through. Before the house was built and it didn't rain, he said that he wouldn't ask for help from others. It wasn't that he wanted to be alone, but at this time, everything wasn't ready yet. It was easy for people to think that he wanted to take advantage of others. His main purpose for coming here was to show his ability to survive in the wild. Secondly, it was to socialize. As for socializing, he wasn't in a hurry now. He would slowly show it in the future. He had to show it inadvertently. It was summer, and there were still many mosquitoes at night. Even if he hid in the tent, even if the mosquitoes didn't go in, some insects might get in. When he was free in the afternoon, Yu Jiwei first found a lot of grass that could repel mosquitoes and insects, as well as some dry grass that could be burned. He found a person who seemed to be easy to talk to and had a fire. He exchanged the mosquito-repellent grass for some fire. He even dug a pit where he was going to build the house to keep the fire. As long as he added some withered tree trunks from time to time, the fire would not go out. When he wanted to start a fire, he could use it at any time. The audience naturally noticed Yu Jiwei's actions. After the person who exchanged the mosquito-repellent grass with him burned it according to Yu Jiwei's method, the insects around the tent automatically moved away. Some smart people came to ask Yu Jiwei what kind of grass it was. If they gathered together like this, they might be able to get 2 shots. Yu Jiwei didn't have any objections to these small actions. Everyone knew what was going on here. The audience knew at a glance whether it was good or bad. It didn't matter even if someone stole the limelight. He believed that after a month, there wouldn't be many people left here. After 2 months, it would be a miracle if there were 5 left. As for close to 3 months, it would probably be his personal scenes. So, was he afraid of being stolen? Yu Jiwei acted indifferently and didn't seem to be in a hurry. He seemed to know how to survive in the wild and indeed attracted a lot of fans. Yu Jiwei slept quite well at night. Previously, he had found banana leaves in the forest. Those who had seen banana leaves before knew that this thing could be raised above one's head to avoid the rain when it rained. At least it could prevent one's hair from getting wet. He had plucked a few banana leaves and used hay to build a chicken coop for Xiao Huahua. He even covered it with banana leaves. Xiao Huahua seemed to be quite satisfied. When the audience saw this, they were amused. They felt that what Yu Jiwei said was true. He really did treat Xiao Huahua as his breadwinner. As for the other banana leaves, he placed them on top of his head. Using the tree trunk as a support, he could make a simple small tent to prevent the fog from getting into his hair at night, preventing him from catching a cold and having a headache. Sure enough, when Yu Jiwei woke up in the morning, there was some moisture on his body, but his head was dry and refreshing. For the entire night, even if they couldn't see anything, many viewers who couldn't sleep were still willing to watch the live broadcast. At about 6:00 in the morning, the audience watching Yu Jiwei on camera heard the sound of giggling. They perked up. Wasn't this Xiao Huahua? They felt that there was something wrong with Xiao Huahua's voice. When they looked over, they realized that Xiao Huahua was actually giggling at Yu Jiwei. The bullet screen immediately started to flood. Xiao Huahua must be hungry. Brother Yu, this is probably the first time you've been woken up by a chicken, right? I thought the hen would crow. Chapter 4190. Yu Jiwei was indeed woken up by Xiao Huahua's voice. However, even if Xiao Huahua didn't scream, he was about to wake up. He was different from the audience in the live stream. He understood why Xiao Huahua would scream like that. Just as he was about to get up, Xiao Huahua actually crawled onto his stomach and grabbed his clothes. Ah! Is Xiao Huahua waking me up? Do you have a ticket to the island? Let's not talk too much. Is there anyone who wants to team up to steal Xiao Huahua? Count me in. +1. +10086. Plus phone number. Yu Jiwei caught Xiao Huahua, who was stepping on his stomach, and stroked its feathers. Okay, I'll go take a look right away. I know you've done a good deed. Yu Jiwei's voice made the bullet screen pause for a moment. The audience who reacted asked, "What do you mean by doing a good deed?" Of course, some people quickly guessed if Xiao Huahua had laid an egg. Xiao Huahua didn't lay an egg last night. Yu Jiwei guessed that Xiao Huahua wasn't used to the new place, so it laid an egg earlier than usual. Sure enough, Yu Jiwei took 2 steps to Xiao Huahua's nest and picked up a warm egg from inside. He patted Xiao Huahua's back again. Xiao Huahua is really amazing. I'll take you for a walk later and catch bugs to eat. The bullet screen floated up again. Fuck, it's actually laying an egg. What kind of chicken is this? Does it have to ask for praise after laying an egg? You don't know the first part, right? Hens will cluck loudly when they lay eggs. It means that they laid an egg and are waiting for the owner to praise them and feed them with food. So that's how it is. If hens are so cute, I want to raise one too. Those who want to buy pets, hurry up. I promise that I'll make a lot of money selling chickens in the next few months. Speaking of which, is Brother Yu really not here to promote his chicken farm? Well, I asked around yesterday. Brother Yu doesn't raise chickens. Aw. You mean you can't eat discounted eggs? Brother Yu probably has a group of fake fans waiting to eat discounted eggs. My heart aches for Brother Yu for a second. Speaking of which, it's such a pity not to eat discounted eggs. Yu Jiwei didn't eat the egg. Instead, he put it into the suitcase. In the first few days, there was no problem with his body's energy, so he could use it more. He would save it for 2 days and eat it after a few days. When the time came, he could use these eggs to exchange for some items that he needed. He took Xiao Huahua out for a walk and picked up some useful hay, dead wood, and some edible plants and wild fruits. More and more viewers were watching Yu Jiwei. He had picked up a lot of things in the morning. In addition, he also went to the beach to catch a few prawns. He didn't bring any salt. Among the 100 people, there were probably quite a few who had brought some. When the time came, they could exchange for it. Even if he couldn't make the exchange, he could still think of other ways. After all, this was the seaside. In the afternoon, Yu Jiwei was busy chopping the dead wood into wooden piles. He planned to lay the foundation and build the house. Yu Jiwei used a very ancient method of piecing wood together. He didn't need nails at all. He used a very delicate method. People who weren't in this field would only think that it was very impressive. He didn't need nails, but he could still connect wood to wood so firmly. Yu Jiwei wasn't proud of it at all. He felt that what he had shown was just child's play. In terms of knowledge and talent, who could compare to his manager? The Peak. Chapter 4191. With such a huge manager behind him, he couldn't be arrogant. Tang Gua, who was watching Yu Jiwei on the screen, received a call from the company. Interview me. Yes. They want to know Xiao Yu's story. It's a good thing for an artist to know so much. Lu Yimao said, Xiao Tang, you really surprised me. I don't know how you did it. I didn't have much hope for Yu Jiwei to participate in this reality show. He has a flat personality and is not outstanding. It's easy for him to be taken advantage of in this kind of show. Previously, I thought that if he could last for 2 months, he might be able to do something. I didn't expect him to give us so many surprises on the first day. Tang Gua thought for a while and decided to interview him. For the past 6 months, Xiao Yu has been improving himself. Lu Yimao didn't care about this. What he cared about was that Yu Jiwei was very different from before. Tang Gua had 2 stars under her. She was clearly an ordinary artist who didn't have much of a splash. How did she suddenly become so outstanding? He knew that it must have something to do with the improvement that Tangwa mentioned. As for how he improved himself, it was a secret, so he couldn't ask too much. What the company needed to do now was to use the resources in their hands to support Yu Jiwei. Luckily, Yu Jiwei and He had different ways of doing things. It wasn't difficult for them to make decisions. No. Lu Yimao suddenly thought of something. Tangwa had 3 stars under her. Although Jiang Qiqi hadn't made any achievements yet, she had successfully auditioned for the second female lead role. This second female lead role was fought for by Jiang Qiqi herself and not by the company's resources. After being in the industry for so many years, Lu Yimao felt that it wasn't a coincidence that Tangwa had 3 artists. 2 of them were ordinary artists. Lu Yimao must have done something in the past 6 months. Just look at Yu Jiwei's performance. Not to mention ordinary people, even some professionals were full of praises for him. Xiao Tang, why didn't you apply for funding for their training? Since it was so useful, it meant that the money was well spent. The company wasn't stingy. The better the artists, the more the company earned. Under the premise of protecting the company's interests, giving the artists benefits would help both parties to cooperate happily. Their company was small, so they had to keep an artist like her and not disappoint her. Tangwa did not expect that the company would take the initiative to bring up this matter. However, Lu Yimao's attitude was normal considering the 3 artists under her who were about to rise. Then I'll get my assistant to sign up for one. Tangwa thought for a while. The only funding she could apply for was when she took Yu Jiwei and Jiang Qiqi abroad to practice shooting. In China, the conditions were limited, and some things were not allowed. It was much more convenient overseas. There were all kinds of models, and both of them could learn about them. If it was expensive, it was still very expensive. Their study budget for half a month was more than 600,000 yuan. Since the company had already said so, then he should apply. Otherwise, wouldn't the company feel uneasy if they felt that he didn't put in any effort? That's right, Lu Yimao said with a smile. The 3 people under you are good. Don't treat them badly. Don't worry about the future. When they are in our company, it's a win-win situation for them. In the future, they will go to other places or go solo. It's inevitable in this circle. Chapter 4192. Tangwa felt that Lu Yimao was thinking too far ahead. Indeed, some things were bound to happen. Because they wanted to restrain their artists, they might end up in a bad situation. They might not win. Maybe it was bullying. Many big companies didn't care about that. They just wanted to squeeze their artists as much as possible. Not to mention other things, this company was indeed different. Because of this, Tangwa didn't want Yu Ji to go solo for them. She was sure that the 3 of them would listen to her when it came to career development. Manager Lu, you're thinking too much. They've just started. Lu Yimao also felt that he was talking too much. He said a few words of concern and told Tangwa when those people would come to interview her. Then, he hung up. Not long after, Lu Yimao received another call. Tangwa's assistant came to claim the expenses for training artists. When Lu Yimao saw the bill, he felt a little dizzy. More than 600,000 yuan, and it was only for half a month's study abroad. All the projects were clearly written in the bill. It wasn't that he was worried about the money. He just felt that he had overestimated the company's ability. Just the study alone cost more than 600,000 yuan. What about the other things that Yu Ji knew? Jiang Qiqi's martial arts, musical instruments, and He's acting lessons. Manager Lu, do I need to claim this? Lu Yimao gritted his teeth. Claim it. Claim it all. He was the one who said it. He couldn't go back on his word. Besides, he already felt that Tang Guo wasn't an ordinary person. How could an ordinary manager think of training an actor like this? When he thought of how Yu Jiwei and Jiang Qiqi had touched all kinds of real things, he felt a chill down his spine. Tang Guo didn't care about Lui Mao's reaction. 2 days later, she received an interview. The other party was indeed here for Yu Jiwei. The first question was how Yu Jiwei changed so much. Tang Guo, because he used half a year to be reborn. He improved himself and presented his best to the audience. Then, did Brother Yu learn those survival skills because of island survival? Tang Guo admitted, of course. Since he learned it, he must try it. Miss Tang, how long do you think Brother Yu can last on the island? At this moment, in front of Tang Guo, the live broadcast of Yu Ji building the house was still in front of her. The framework of the entire house was almost complete. I think he can stay as long as he wants. Tang Guo wasn't lying. With Yu Jiwei's current ability to survive, even if the crew didn't take him away, he wouldn't have a problem surviving there. The reporters felt that Tang Guo's words were too exaggerated. However, this answer was good. It was another piece of explosive news. Tang Guo knew that if this news got out, it would cause a lot of people to scold her. This was normal. The online environment was like that. No matter what an artist did, whether it was good or bad, they would be criticized. Many people scolded them for saying that celebrities were bad. Celebrities are good, but there are also many people who criticize them. The current internet environment was indeed very confusing. Since she did not need to spend any money to gain popularity, how could Tang Guo not accept it? The onlookers would realize that Yu Jiwei was indeed the one who was left. She was telling the truth. Not only that, but he could also live well on the island. This was the most infuriating thing. Sure enough, not long after, Yu Jiwei's manager said that Yu Jiwei could survive on the island, which caused countless people to criticize him. Especially when they watched the live broadcast every day, there were people who criticized Yu Jiwei for putting on a show. However, this was a 24-hour live broadcast. Except for some private things like sleeping, going to the bathroom, and so on, everything else was under the eyes of the public. They could only criticize Yu Jiwei for being arrogant. Chapter 4193. There were even more people who liked Yu Jiwei and Xiao Huahua. Regarding the current situation, the company even specially told Tang Guo not to suppress the situation. When it rebounded, Yu Jiwei would gain both fame and fortune. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that Yu Jiwei was indeed doing well. Now, he had already exchanged the items he needed with many people. He could even make salt himself, although it would take a long time. He could also identify the various plants on this island and what they were used for. It could be said that the people who participated this time were all lucky. From time to time, they could exchange for things from him. At this time, Yu Jiwei had already survived on the island for 20 days. During this period, there were people quitting every day. Until now, less than half of the people were left. The rules were too harsh, and these people couldn't persevere for various reasons. Tang Guo was already looking for artists. She didn't want to bring a newcomer into the company, so the company asked her to choose an artist, but she rejected it. Tongzi, help me collect those who are hardworking, have good acting skills, but don't accept the unspoken rules in the industry and can't become popular no matter what. Or someone who was once popular, but was eliminated due to environmental reasons. Okay, Madam Host. After the system's analysis, it found many suitable people for Tang Guo. She browsed through their information one by one. In the end, she chose 3 people. 2 female artists and 1 male artist. The 2 female artists had rejected the so-called unspoken rules and only wanted to act in peace. Until now, they could only play some small roles. One of them was especially pitiful and was now older. Even if they got a good role, it might be snatched away by other people in the industry. There was no other way. They had no money, no background, and no backing. They could only suffer. One of the female artists was younger. Her name was Zhuxiang, and she was 22 years old this year. The other female artist was older. Her name was Yin Zhuyun, and she was almost 40 years old. Yin Zhuyun's age was very awkward. The age of female artists in this industry had a short shelf life. After a certain age, many roles could not be played anymore. Even if those with resources and capital acted, it was easy to attract ridicule and cause their reputation to collapse. It was also easy to fall out of the show. Zhuxiang was very beautiful. She had the face of a first love and a standard height of 1.65 meters. It was not difficult for her to act with anyone. At her current age, she still had a long way to go. As for Yin Zhuyun, she might not be suitable to play the female lead anymore. Even if she maintained her youthful appearance, playing the role of a young female lead would still be very difficult. However, Tanggua had her own position and would find the most suitable one for them. The last one was a male celebrity who was once popular but was no longer popular. This male artist's name was Hao Yi. In fact, he was not too old this year. He was almost 30 years old, which was the golden age for male artists. He used to be a singer and was idolized by countless girls. After her debut, she had acted in some TV dramas. Her acting wasn't too good, but it was passable. At least, the TV dramas she acted in back then had good ratings. There were three main reasons why Hao Yi was outdated. The first point came from himself. He had always wanted to change his career. When he was young, it was fine to be a little fresh meat. But now that he was old, it would ruin people's good impression of him. It was meaningless for his future. The second point came from the company. The company did not agree with his transformation. They felt that he was worth a lot now and wanted to squeeze more money out of him while he was popular. The third point also came from himself. Although he was labeled as a little fresh meat, he was actually quite good at singing and dancing. Chapter 4194. Hao Yi had always felt that he spoke with his works. After entering the entertainment industry, he had been acting seriously. He wanted to get rid of the previous impression. He wanted his fans to see more of his works. But now, some fans were very nosy. They felt that this was their idol and they had to develop in the direction they wanted him to develop. What the fans could not accept was that when they were interviewed, they were asked about his views on choosing a partner. The host asked Hao Yi if he had a partner in the future. Most celebrities would definitely say that they did not have time to think about their relationships. They just wanted to focus on their career. Hao Yi was different. He said frankly that if he met someone he liked and succeeded, he would announce it immediately. To his fans, this was a killer move. Some people used this issue to expose Hao Yi. They said that he already had a partner and that it was a secret marriage. There were even pictures. Of course, these were all rumors. During that period, there were all kinds of searches about leaving Hao Yi's fans and boycotting him. The company asked Hao Yi to clarify that he did not have a partner and that he would not consider relationships for the next 10 years. Hao Yi did not want to do that. In the contract they signed, there was no such thing. Both parties signed a contract. Wasn't it about working together? The company always forced him to do things that he did not like to do. Coincidentally, his fans were lousy and he was not willing to do that. He had been in this industry because he liked it. Now, he was unhappy. He would rather be frozen than listen to the company's arrangements. Hence, it was over. It was over for many years. The system found this person because his contract with his previous company had just expired. Now, he was ready to do what he liked. After Tanguo saw this, she felt that this child was really not easy. He would rather live a poor life than give in. He was also a ruthless person. She liked such a ruthless person. Hence, she poached him. The system found out that their contracts had expired and they had terminated their contracts with their companies. Among them, Yin Zhuyun had already left her company. She was slightly older and did not have much value. Many companies were not willing to sign her. The current Yin Zhuyun had been in the industry for many years and could still play some older roles. Her scenes were not bad, but they were not outstanding and did not leave a deep impression. Yin Zhuyun's image was actually not bad. When Tanguo saw her, she found that this woman, who was almost 40 years old, gave off an elegant and decent feeling. When Yin Zhuyun heard that Tanguo wanted to sign her, she was very surprised. At her age, she was not famous and had no value. Why would anyone want to sign an artist like her? Why not give it a try? Our company's contracts are more flexible, and the artists I manage are not messy. I've already applied to the company. I can sign a 2-year contract with you first. After 2 years, if you think it's suitable, we can continue. This was something that Tanguo had fought for. Right now, she had 3 artistes who were slowly rising in popularity. The 3 that she wanted to sign were not outstanding artists, so they just let Tanguo do as she pleased. If they could unearth it, it would be good for the company. However, when it came to training funds, they might not be so generous. The company didn't support idle people, nor did it do charity. Signing Zhuo Xiang and Yin Zhuyun went very smoothly. In the end, Tanguo went to Hao Ye's house. It was a very ordinary neighborhood, and there were no paparazzi. Tanguo saw what Hao Ye had done all these years and felt that he did not regret it. Hao Ye was 28 years old now. 7 years had passed since his era, and he had long been forgotten. Tanguo walked to Hao Ye's door and knocked. The Peak. Chapter 4195. The door opened and a neatly dressed man appeared in front of Tanguo. Tanguo noticed that the way this man looked at her was a little vigilant at first, as if he had confirmed something, and then relaxed a little. May I ask who you are? I'm your manager from Morning Star Entertainment. Tanguo took out her business card and handed it to him. You're Hao Ye, right? Miss Tang, please come in. After seeing the business card, Hao Ye completely let down his guard. Tanguo followed him in and stared at Hao Ye's back. She asked the system, Little Tongzi, did you miss out on any important information? Hao Ye seems a little strange. He looks a little like he's guarding against a brainless fan. Logically speaking, Hao Ye had been dead for about 7 years. The people who were his fans had basically all grown up. If a person disappeared from the screen, they should have forgotten about him. If even the entertainment reporters didn't want to follow him, would the fans still remember him and come to stalk him? System, dear host, when I was investigating Hao Ye, I had an idea. What idea? This little system was getting more and more ideas. It even learned to hold back and keep her in suspense. It's like this. Dear host, aren't you very busy? As a system, I've always been very concerned about your marriage. Even if there's a sea of people, I'm still looking for the whereabouts of your cutie. I believe that with his personality, he'll definitely appear. It doesn't matter if he appears a little later. He'll come to your side in the end. So, whenever the dear host takes a fancy to an artist, I'll investigate. Are you sure that Hao Ye is him? Tanguo didn't know whether to praise or laugh. But this time, the system hit the nail on the head and guessed correctly. After all the data analysis, there's an 80% chance that Hao Ye is the cutie. The other 20% is a special factor that even the system can't analyze. Then tell me, how are you so sure that he's him? First of all, this guy's character has to be special. Hao Yi is special. There are so many fresh meat debuts in the entertainment industry, but it's rare to see someone as tough as him. It's rare to see someone as miserable as him. It's even rarer to see someone like him who's famous but strangely cool. Little Tongzi, hurry up and say it. Also, this guy has been single for 28 years. He hasn't even held a girl's hand before, let alone have a girlfriend. Dear host, why do you think this is? Isn't she keeping her chastity for you? What if he isn't? Actually, I think Hao Yi is not bad. If not, and that fellow doesn't appear, does Madam Host want to change your taste? Of course, the system was joking. He was 90% confident now. Alright, I'll sign him first. Tanguo sized up Hao Ye's house. This house was in an old neighborhood, and there were no luxurious decorations in the house. Everything was simple, and it could be seen that his life was relatively ordinary. Even if it was an ordinary day, the whole house was tidy, unlike many people who couldn't bear the ups and downs and ended up living a terrible life. The system did not tell Tanguo about this. She wanted to know more about it on her own. Knowing the story behind every artist was the basic requirement of a manager. System, go ahead. Chapter 4196. Miss Tang, you said over the phone that you want to sign me. Hao Yi took the initiative to ask. In his situation, there was still a normal company that was willing to sign him. Of course, he was curious and had some expectations. Even though he had been frozen for 7 years, he didn't lose his confidence at all. Actually, it wasn't that he didn't have anything to do after being frozen for so many years. It was just that the company didn't care about anything. Not only did he not get any support, many people didn't dare to use him. Rather than being frozen, it was more accurate to say that he was banned. But in some small occasions, taking on some private jobs to support himself wasn't a problem. It was just that he couldn't become popular. If he showed any signs of becoming popular again, the company would interfere. Anyway, he changed places again and again. In the end, he really couldn't stay in the industry and could only give up. At first, he could still act in some small roles. Later on, because some people didn't want him to touch this industry, they spent a lot of money to replace him. The director was also very helpless. He didn't want to implicate others, so he could only temporarily leave that industry. He had been waiting for the day when the contract ended. This wait had been 7 years. Finally, he was free. Back then, when his uncle signed that contract for him, he took away 7 years of his youth. It also made him understand that there was no reason for relatives to cheat you sometimes. If he had seriously read the contract himself, perhaps he wouldn't have signed with that company. Tang Guan knew about this experience. Yes, I want to sign you. Miss Tang, do you know about my experience? Hao Yi asked neither hurriedly nor slowly. Actually, he wasn't too sure if anyone would cause trouble after the contract ended. Chen Xing wasn't a big company. If someone wanted to continue messing with him, this company might not be able to take the pressure. I know that in these 7 years, as long as you've been involved in a career in the industry, you won't have a good ending. Since Miss Tang knows, then you should know the consequences of signing me, Hao Yi said seriously. Hao Yi was 28 years old this year. To a man, this was the golden age. The person in front of her was even more handsome than what Tang Guo saw on the screen. He was dressed meticulously. It was obvious that he was here for her today. This showed that he was a very polite person. Moreover, he valued today's matter very much. If this person hadn't been set up by the company and if no one had messed with him, he might have become a popular actor now. Since I dare to sign a contract with you, I can take care of all your troubles. Tang Guo was very confident when she said that. However, Hao Yi said, to be honest, I've learned about Morning Star Entertainment. If I didn't have a pile of trouble on me, I would indeed be very willing to work with such a company, especially with Miss Tang. But if my troubles continue, Morning Star Entertainment won't be able to solve them. They might even get burned. You even try to understand me? Tang Guo asked. System, host, please be more serious. You're talking about a company, so don't act like a curious little girl. Be serious, be serious. You are a manager now. Hao Yi didn't understand the question, but he still nodded. Yes, Miss Tang is very different from other agents. Other than He Lei, the other two artists were mediocre, but one of them was already on the verge of becoming popular. He had watched Living Alone before. Yu Wei was on an isolated island, interacting with other people. When people asked him why he knew so much, he would always say that these classes were arranged by his manager and that he was very grateful to him. Vertex. Chapter 4197. How many managers nowadays would ask their artistes to stop for half a year to arrange classes for them to improve themselves? They probably wanted their artistes to take on more advertisements and endorsements so that they could rise up quickly. This wasn't wrong. It was human nature. He just felt that if they had known each other earlier, their development might have been different. He still felt a little regretful that he couldn't work with her. Thinking about how she was a few years younger than him, Hao Yi laughed. Even if they had known each other earlier, she was probably still a high school student. They wouldn't have been able to work together. Our company can't help you solve your problem, but I can. Tang Guo smiled and said something unbelievable. The company's strength doesn't represent my personal strength. Today, we're here to talk about this. I won't consider anything else. If you're willing to work with me and you're satisfied with the contract, we'll sign it. I'll bear all the consequences. Tang Guo had guessed that Hao Yi's 7 years of difficulties were mostly caused by someone. She didn't believe that a big company would be so free as to spend 7 years of their time and energy to deal with an artiste who was already dead. Someone else was probably the reason why Hao Yi couldn't make a comeback. She wanted to drag little Tongzi out and beat him up, but he was still keeping her in suspense. System, hide. Tang Guo's words were arrogant. Hao Yi could hear her confidence. Morning Star Entertainment's strength didn't represent her personal strength. Didn't this mean that her personal strength was stronger than the company? Miss Tang, you're not joking. No. Are you willing to sign the contract? Hao Yi was tempted. This was a very good company, and they even had a very good manager. There was even a voice in his heart telling him to sign it. He believed that she could do it. Tang Guo pushed the contract to Hao Yi. 2 years trial. Hao Yi was even more surprised. There were many artistes who went solo after their contracts expired. The lowest contract now was at least 5 years. He had never heard of a 2-year contract. Hao Yi picked up the contract and read it seriously. After reading it, he was even more shocked. What kind of contract was this? He wanted to find loopholes in it, such as the word games that were used to trick him. No. This contract was open and aboveboard. He felt that there was no contract in the industry that was more conscientious than this. This guy is really careful. Is he still afraid that the host will trick him? Even if he did, it would be for the rest of his life. In his dreams. I've been scammed before. Now that I look at it seriously, isn't that normal? Hao Yi had been tricked by his uncle. Even his relatives had tricked him. We've only just met, and we're still in a cooperative relationship. Read the contract carefully. This is being responsible for yourself. System, that's very reasonable. He just felt that the host was siding with Hao Yi. Host, do you know what he does for extra income? Aren't you going to be a host once in a while? Little Tongzi, did you not give me all the information again? To maintain a sense of mystery, I just want the host to be greatly surprised. Actually, this fellow has another job. Because of the scam on the contract, he went to study law. Now, he's even helping people look at contracts. Tanggua, Tongzi, are you asking for a beating? Dear host, that's all. That's all I've hidden from you. I've told you everything else. I just wanted to see you surprised. I didn't expect your reaction to be so calm. You've had too many good days. Oh right, isn't 111 going to send you an installation package? Vertex. Chapter 4198. 111 has just entered the next world. Wait for it to stabilize. It should be soon. The system was also looking forward to what kind of installation package 111 would give him. Could it be a standalone installation package? That would be fine too. He was already a little tired of the small games in the system that he had devoured previously. When he had nothing to do, he would go to the online world and get a game installation package to play. Hao Yi snapped out of his daze and asked Tanggua again, Miss Tang, are you really willing to sign me? Of course. Will you sign it? Hao Yi gripped the pen tightly. Since Miss Tang isn't afraid, why should I be? With that said, Hao Yi signed his name. What other time could be worse than the situation he was in now? If he really couldn't do it, he could just go back to where he started. Hao Yi, you are my artist now. When can you start? Hao Yi, I still have some things to do here. I can finish them all in a week. He still had some contracts to settle. Also, he had to finish his job as a host. Since he had accepted it, he had to finish it. Tanggua put the contract away and didn't leave. You don't have anything to do today, right? After receiving Hao Ye's reply, Tanggua said, when you came in just now, I saw that you were a little nervous. Are you in trouble? Since you are my artist, you have to tell me if you are in trouble. That way, I can help you settle it as soon as possible. Yes, there is a rather crazy fan who has been following my whereabouts all this time. It has been better in recent years. A while ago, that fan was even crazier. I called the police a few times before the fan finally calmed down. Then I will arrange for a bodyguard to come over tomorrow. Tanggua looked at the tidy house. Your house is too small. There are only 3 bodyguards and an assistant driver. It probably won't be enough. Why don't you come back with me today? I will arrange your accommodation. If you have any work to do, I will ask the driver to send you there. Hao Yi didn't know why, but he packed a simple luggage and really got into the car with Tanggua. Now, he was sitting in the back with Tanggua. He couldn't help but look at this low-key, luxurious car that was definitely worth millions. Managers these days had such a high starting point. Tanggua wasn't a famous manager, but she still had a driver and a luxurious car to send her around. Could this be the personal strength she was talking about? Let's talk about how after you were frozen by your previous company, your work was repeatedly sabotaged. I think your previous company probably only issued a notice to ban you, but they won't care about you if you take on some small jobs, and they won't really deliberately target you. A worthless artist was not necessary for the company, so why would they waste their resources? Banning Hao Yi had already served as a warning to others. Sister Tanggua's guess is right. It's not the former company that wants to wipe us out. They don't have so much free time. Tanggua was younger than him and was now his agent. There was no harm in calling her sister. Tanggua was quite happy. She patted Hao Yi on the shoulder and said, "Since you call me sister, I'll take care of you in the future." Hao Yi felt that his manager was a little strange, but he didn't dislike it. Perhaps he was thinking too much. "System, I didn't think too much into it. It's just what you guessed. Do you have any guesses?" "I have some guesses. Back when I entered this circle, I did block the path of many people. But now that I'm dead, no one will be so free as to specially spend resources to deal with me. But there is one person who might be so free. The Peak." Chapter 4199. Tanggua asked, "Who is it?" The system did not look into the details, so she did not know. "Qi Dong." Hao Yi said a name. Tanggua was a little surprised. Qi Dong, a popular A-list actor. He's the king of TV ratings. Every time there's a big male lead script, it'll be sent to him immediately. He's won many awards, but it seems like he's not fated to be a best actor. A few years ago, he wanted to enter the film industry and participated in many big productions, but the results were not good. He was almost criticized by fans for making bad movies and squandering his money. In the end, he gave up trying to enter the film industry to stabilize his position. It's him. From what I know, Qi Dong debuted in the same show as you. There doesn't seem to be any hatred between the two of you. But back then, you seemed to want to suppress him. Could it be because of this hatred? It shouldn't be. In this industry, there were many people who could suppress him back then. It's impossible for him to hold a grudge against everyone. Otherwise, he would be too petty. Who was better than him? When he succeeded, he would take revenge on the other person. Qi Dong would not be able to survive in this industry. It's not that simple. I don't have a grudge against him. It might be because of one thing. Speaking up to this point, Hao Yi paused for a moment. I accidentally saw his private matters. Maybe he felt embarrassed, or maybe there were other reasons, so he held a grudge against me. Do you know Sister Yang? Tanggua asked. Tongzi, who is Sister Yang? System, dear host, Sister Yang is a self-made rich woman. She started as a housewife in the countryside. Because of a family dispute, she left her family with nothing. Fortunately, her family pitied her and gave her a bungalow and 3 lambs, hoping that she could raise them to make a living. Sister Yang felt that she could only graze the lambs on the hillside for the rest of her life. She might walk into the grave of another marriage in the future. After more than a year of asking around and learning, she sold the 3 lambs and started to raise pigs. The unparalleled Tang Sekfo after entering the pig industry, with her diligence, sincerity, and some luck, she slowly became a big pig farmer. Later, she opened the famous 3 Sheep pig farm. The name 3 Sheep came from the 3 little lambs. Before setting up the company, 3 Sheep was also her nickname. When it came to raising pigs, many people would say that she was from a village called 3 Sheep. The pigs raised by her family were not bad. She was sturdy, not watery, and had a conscience. Boss 3 Sheep was also a straightforward person. Doing business with her would not be wrong. The 3 Sheep pig farm has countless varieties of pigs and can satisfy all kinds of people's tastes. The pork that great host ate yesterday came from the 3 Sheep pig farm. Chapter 4200. That means he's a reasonable person. We're not on the same page. If Qi Dong wants to block Hao Ye's path, he has to ask me first. Tanggua guessed that Sister Yang probably didn't know about the things Qi Dong did in the industry. The boss of a large pig farm spent most of his time on property management, so he didn't have time to care about these small things. Tanggua's conversation with the system actually happened in a flash. She came back to her senses and continued Hao Ye's words, "Is it Sister Yang from Three Sheep Pig Farm?" Hao Ye said, "It's her. Qi Dong and Sister Yang are related." Hao Ye nodded. "When I first debuted, Sister Yang's people came to me. Sister Yang likes you." Tang Guo couldn't help but laugh. This made Hao Ye a little uncomfortable. He quickly said, "I didn't agree. Sister Yang's people came a few times, but they didn't bother me when they saw that I wasn't interested." Hao Ye had heard of Sister Yang's reputation before. So he didn't have a bad impression of her, but they weren't on the same side. Sister Yang is behind Qi Dong, right? This matter had been going on for a long time. Although it wasn't necessarily a secret in the industry, there were still many people who didn't know. Especially when Qi Dong deliberately avoided it, no one would take the initiative to talk about it. Speaking of which, Qi Dong had debuted for almost 10 years. He didn't care about relationships for the time being, so he had a lot of fans. 56 with Sister Yang behind him, no one dared to spread any bad rumors. Indeed. Then how did you two become enemies? You're no longer a threat to him, but he still won't let you go. Hao Ye said, "It started when Sister Yang's people came to look for me. At that time, Qi Dong and I were in the same room. Qi Dong knew that Sister Yang's people came to look for me. He even persuaded me to rely on my own ability to survive in the industry. If I really agreed, it would be a black mark in my history." In other words, he was very against it. Tang Guo understood. Then he turned around and hooked up with Sister Yang. Yes. I later found out that he was very close to Sister Yang's people. Every time that person came, Qi Dong seemed to be trying his best to show off. After that, Qi Dong rarely came back. He basically lived outside. Once, I accidentally saw him with Sister Yang, and he didn't look too good at that time. Tang Guo smiled carelessly. Isn't it just one act in front of others and another act behind their backs? Don't worry, this is easy to solve. According to Sister Yang's personality, she wouldn't bother to target you. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been able to do these things outside the industry. What do you think? I've guessed that Qi Dong is probably trying to take advantage of the situation. Sister Yang is such a busy person. Why would she specifically target a small fry like me? Hao Ye understood that if Sister Yang had targeted him, he wouldn't have become famous in the future. If she had simply used some resources, he wouldn't have had the chance to become famous. Most likely, she had long forgotten about him. Since Qi Dong is the only one targeting you, things will be much easier. You just need to improve your professional skills when you come back. You don't have to think about anything else. Hao Ye was still a little worried. Qi Dong is Sister Yang's man after all. If he spread some pillow talk, it might bring a lot of trouble to the company. The biggest problem is probably the competition for resources. However, even if you don't have the ability, don't take on the porcelain job. Don't worry, what's yours won't run away. Qi Dong doesn't have the power to do anything in this industry. He can touch some of the smaller ones, but he can't touch the bigger ones. The peak. Chapter 4201. You have the capital and the people in the industry understand your value. They're not stupid. They won't give up on a popular person like you just because of Qi Dong. Hao Ye didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He was a has-been artist, but he was a popular person in this manager's eyes. This kind of affirmation that he hadn't received for a long time warmed his heart. Perhaps the choice this time wouldn't be bad. Tang Guo chatted with Hao Ye all the way back. She also knew the other reason why Hao Ye was so against the company's arrangement. He would rather die than follow the company's instructions. When Hao Ye was in junior high, his parents passed away, and his uncle became his guardian. If one were to say that he was indebted to this uncle for bringing him up, that was simply not the case. His uncle was originally from an ordinary family. Later on, he took over Hao Ye's parents' assets. However, he told Hao Ye to work hard and not just sit around and do nothing. Hao Ye had always wanted to act and stand on the stage to express himself. Due to his amazing talent, his uncle was tempted. When he was in high school, his uncle became his manager and helped him take on some big and small jobs. After Hao Ye entered the film academy, he participated in a talent show. The results were good. When companies approached him, his uncle agreed that he owed a company. Because he was focused on doing what he liked, he didn't pay attention to these things. He had no experience and was cheated by the contract. What disgusted him the most was that his uncle wanted to send him to Sister Yang when he found out that she was interested in him. Hao Ye came to his senses and rejected him decisively. He didn't want to go down this path, so even if he died, he couldn't go against his principles. No matter how his uncle forced him, he didn't fall for it. He even sued his uncle later on. Unfortunately, his parents' assets and the money he used to earn were mostly squandered. His uncle was a deadbeat and couldn't take it out at all. Search for ebooks. Hao Ye wasn't disappointed that he couldn't get the money. He just wanted to cut ties. Until now, he hadn't heard any news about his uncle for many years. His uncle died because of him, so he didn't have any interest in him. After my parents left, I treated my uncle as my only family. Although he had some shortcomings, I also felt that everyone had shortcomings. Since he was my family, I didn't think too much about it and didn't take any precautions. When Hao Ye said this, he was very calm. It could be seen that he really didn't care much about money. In fact, he was still able to earn money over the years. Just by looking at contracts for people, he was able to earn quite a bit. However, he still lived in the old neighborhood and kept the house neat and tidy. He lived this kind of ordinary life. There was nothing luxurious at home, just because he liked this kind of lifestyle. This is just an experience in life. You're so outstanding, you'll definitely achieve results in the field you like. Tang Guo's words were very effective on Hao Ye. He also felt that he was very outstanding, but he just lacked a stage. It's been so many years. You haven't forgotten your kung fu, have you? Tang Guo asked. Hao Ye smiled. How could I forget? I've been thinking about it every day, just waiting for the contracts to expire. It was rare to see someone like Hao Ye who was so tenacious that he never thought of giving up. When they arrived at the villa, Hao Ye felt that the scenery outside was a bit different on the way. How did we drive to the most expensive villa area in the city? When he remembered that this car was not cheap, he calmed down again. He didn't know where this manager came from. Maybe she was a rich young lady who liked to do this. To experience life. The peak. Chapter 4202. Sure enough, after getting out of the car and following Tang Guo into the villa, he felt that his guess was right. Sister Tang's house is really big. Hao Ye praised seriously. He didn't know if it was because of the 7 years of training, but even when he saw such a luxurious place, he didn't show the slightest bit of uneasiness. Instead, his expression was natural and he looked around openly. Tang Guo felt that Hao Ye's 7 years of experience should be a kind of training for him. She even found Hao Ye in the original plot, but because he was a passerby, there weren't many mentions. But because he was too famous, there were still some mentions. But the mentions were made a long time later. 7 years of hibernation in exchange for soaring into the sky. So, people like him would sooner or later reach the top. It was just a matter of time. You can live here in the future. Is there a problem? Hao Ye shook his head. Of course, there's no problem. I saw that your room is clean and simple. I was afraid that you wouldn't be used to it. As for the room, you can ask the housekeeper to decorate it to your liking. Hao-yi, any style is fine, as long as it's clean. His small house was very comfortable, but it didn't mean that living in a big house wasn't comfortable. System, stay longer. You'll be staying here for the rest of your life. Even if you're not used to it now, you'll get used to it in the future. After choosing a room, the two of them ate together. Tanguo showed Hao-yi around the villa. When Hao-yi saw the strange things, he felt a little strange. This is where Xiaoyu trains. Tanguo pointed at the bricks in front of Hao-yi. There were also some strange things that Hao-yi had never seen before. But there were some skills that Hao-yi saw Yu Jiwei use when he was watching the camera. So what Yu Jiwei said was true. What he learned was arranged by Sister Tang. But he didn't expect that the place where he learned was actually in Tanguo's villa. It was such a high-end villa, but now it was reduced to a place where the artists under her management put their learning tools. Especially these hard bricks, which didn't match the villa at all. These cold weapons are actually real. Hao-yi saw a handsome broadsword. Tanguo gestured for him to pick it up. When he picked it up, he felt his whole body sink a little. Such a heavy broadsword, even if he had great strength, it would be very difficult for him to wield it. In addition, he also saw many classical musical instruments here. Although he had never bought these things before, at least he had an eye for them. These things were not cheap. Any one of them would cost at least 50,000 yuan. There were even some that should be worth hundreds of thousands. These cold weapons did not have any signs of being made, but each of them was not simple. They were probably more valuable than those classical musical instruments. He felt that the goods here were cheaper than the batch of bricks just now. This is where Chi-Chi mainly studies. Hao-yi had done his research on the artists under Tanguo, so he knew who Jiang Chi-Chi was. She seemed to be filming a police and gangster film, which had been officially announced before. It was a very good role. Jiang Chi-Chi was definitely not a simple person to be chosen. Now that he saw this, he was not surprised at all. You can also learn the things here. The artists under me can learn anything they want, Tanguo said. Of course, the premise is that you are very interested. I am quite interested in these things, Hao-yi said. He had never tried such new things before. Now that he had the chance, of course he wanted to touch it. The peak. Chapter 4203. Hao-yi, do you have any thoughts about returning to this industry? For example, what kind of path do you want to take? Hao-yi thought for a while and said, I could try any role except for comedy roles. I don't think I'm suitable for comedy roles. I also think that with your image, comedy roles are indeed not suitable. Also, don't touch the domineering male leads of idol dramas. What do you think? That's exactly what I mean. This kind of role will have a lot of fans. Hao-yi said very seriously, now that I'm back, I want more roles that show my acting skills. No matter how many scenes I have, whether it's good or bad, as long as the audience can appreciate the role I play, it's fine. It's best if there are fewer romantic scenes. After Hao-yi said that, he reflected for a while. Am I asking for too much? No, this is to define your position. Only when you found your position can you accept suitable scripts in the future. Then, for now, we'll rule out comedies, idols, and romantic scenes. System, host, do you wish that he doesn't talk about romantic scenes at all? He even looks so serious that he almost fooled little Tongzi. Tanguo, you talk so much. You're becoming a gossip master. System, ha ha ha. Then let's arrange the classes now. What instruments do you know? Are you still practicing? I know a few of the commonly used modern instruments, but I'm not proficient. I can play the songs of normal difficulty. I haven't learned any classical instruments. Then if there's something you like, you can learn it here. Let's decide what you want to learn first. Oh right, Zhuxiang and Yin Zhuyun will be back in 2 days. They're the artists I just signed. At that time, you can learn together. In the next 2 days, you can familiarize yourself with the theory and knowledge here. Hao Yi, do you know calligraphy? Tang Gua asked because there were a few calligraphy pieces hanging on the wall in his room. They even formed their own style and had a Hao seal. I know a little. My father is a calligraphy enthusiast and taught me this since I was young. Later on, when I was bored and couldn't calm down, I would practice calligraphy here. Coincidentally, I also have calligraphy classes here. There are also many copybooks. If you're interested, you can take a look. Tang Gua pointed to the other side. After Hao Yi walked over and opened it, he didn't move for a long time. Tang Gua, Tongzi, if this kind of person doesn't become popular, who will? All he lacked was an opportunity. Even if he doesn't become an actor, he can still stand in a very high position, but he just doesn't want to give up this industry, so he's been waiting. System, host, stop praising him. He's one of us. Now that he's met you, he'll become even more popular. Hao Yi thought that when Yin Zhuyun and Zhuxiang came over in 2 days, the teacher would also come over to teach them. When Tang Gua said that she wanted to teach them martial arts and how to use those cold weapons, Hao Yi finally couldn't remain calm. He stared at Tang Gua, who was holding the broadsword that he had struggled to wield before, and his eyes did not move away for even a moment. He thought that she was the daughter of a rich family and that she was rich. Like him, she came to this circle to realize her dreams. He had never thought that she would be so powerful. It was as if the girl who always spoke to him with a gentle smile a few days ago wasn't her. The girl in front of him was more like a valiant and formidable heroine. The peak. Chapter 4204. Not to mention Zhuxiang and Yin Zhuyun. They were simply stunned by their new manager. Were the barriers to becoming a manager these days so high? After Tang Gua finished practicing, she couldn't help but complain, I still don't have enough people under me. They're all busy. When can I, as a manager, not do it personally? System, host, I think it won't be easy. Look, the people you support will become popular and have things to do. How can they have time to help you raise cattle? Tang Gua thought about it and felt that she had suffered a great loss. Then arrange less work for them in the future. Every year, at least one of them will take a month off. The one who stays to rest will come and help me. Tang Gua first taught them internal energy. Hao Yi was surprised that they could actually learn internal energy. But if they could learn it, then so be it. Everything here, some could be learned with money, but some could not be learned with money. Zhuxiang and Yin Zhuyun thought the same. They had never heard of such a serious manager who taught them to improve themselves. About a week later, the three of them could learn the things by themselves. Tang Gua only needed to watch over them. In addition to learning these things, they still had acting classes every day. Tang Gua, as their manager, would personally choose the scenes to act with them. Hao Yi, Zhuxiang, Yin Zhuyun, as artists, the past few days had been the time of their lives when they felt defeated the most. Hao Yi loved 3 weapons, a long sword, a broadsword, and a long spear. The moves that Tang Gua taught him not only looked cool, but they were also not empty. Coupled with his internal energy, he felt that these moves could kill. The 4 classical instruments that Hao Yi loved were the guqin, the flute, the sun, and the arrow. Tang Gua chose many characters from the movies and TV series to act with Hao Yi. These characters were from ancient times. There were handsome young masters, cold swordsmen, iron-blooded generals on the battlefield, villains who were extremely bad, and small characters who crawled and rolled around. Among the modern characters, she picked out some common professional characters and let Hao Yi go through them. They were all characters with very little emotional scenes. In addition, Tang Guo picked out some of the more outstanding roles in the movie for Hao Yi to try out. In the end, Hao Yi was born to play this role. Even if she wasn't satisfied with her performance at the beginning, she would be able to understand the character's thinking and express the character in her own way. Hao Yi's brilliance had also stunned Xue Xiang and Yin Zhuyun. This was a person who was bestowed by the heavens to eat. System: how bad can the talent of the person chosen by that guy be? Even if it was bad, he would probably secretly use some cheat codes for himself. Xue Xiang wasn't bad either. Although Xue Xiang also needed to practice martial arts, Tang Guo didn't require her to master it. The most important thing was for her to improve her acting skills to the highest level and learn some other skills. Xue Xiang's face was very pretty, and she was still young. She could take on more modern dramas and ancient puppet dramas. As for Yin Zhuyun, the roles that she would receive in the future could not be the main characters, but they could still be very important characters in the drama. After confirming it, she focused on cultivating this aspect. In addition, she also asked Yin Zhuyun to learn some etiquette, tea arts, and health skills to create an elegant woman's life. Yin Zhuyun was already very elegant. Now, she just wanted to highlight this point of hers. Even if she played all kinds of roles in the drama, good and bad, after getting to know her and seeing her lifestyle, she would definitely attract a large number of fans. This group of fans wasn't young either. It could be said that they played a role in making middle-aged women elegant. Therefore, Yin Zhuyun still had a lot to learn. Yin Zhuyun, I can even learn how to make kipeos. Actually, when I was young, I really liked these things. Xiaoguo, you said that you want me to show my skills on Weibo in the future. I'm really excited. Sharing a beautiful life. I like this kind of thing. Sister Tang, what about I? Can I learn something else? I'm still young and I'm not afraid of pressure. I can arrange my time. Xue Xiang looked at Yin Zhuyun. She couldn't learn to be elegant. Her personality wasn't like that. Chapter 4205. Tang Guo thought for a while. Do you know how to draw? If you're interested, you can learn how to draw. Start with sketching. From now on, you can share your learning progress every day. When you interact with your fans in the future, you can even draw your profile picture for them. Who knows, you might even need to draw for some of the roles you're filming in the future. Okay. I like drawing. Xue Xiang hesitated for a while before asking, Sister Tang, do you know how to draw? Yes, I'll get the butler to buy some tools later. I'll start teaching you in the afternoon. Xue Xiang, she shouldn't have doubted her. What couldn't this versatile manager know? She must be a god. Oh right, the three of you should also post on your blog to inform your fans that you're changing companies. Consider it a farewell to the past and for the future. The three of them expressed that there was no problem. Yin Zhuyun was older and wasn't popular. She didn't have many fans, only a few 100,000. The good thing was that there were many living fans. The people who were her fans now were really her fans, and they were the more rational kind. Yin Zhuyun, I signed with a company and met a very good manager. My future is promising. After the post was posted, it took about a minute before someone commented. They were all encouraging and very friendly comments. Xue Xiang had more fans than Yin Zhuyun. In terms of age, she was relatively younger. When she debuted, her performance was not bad. Although she didn't play the female lead, she played the second and third female lead quite a few times. Because she stuck to her principles, she couldn't get any resources. The competition was so big, so the company wouldn't spend so much effort to support disobedient actors who didn't bring them commercial value. So, after that, she could only go for auditions on her own, or the company would arrange some bad roles for her. Not only could she not solidify her fans, but she was also often ridiculed for not having many fans and having some haters. Shuxiang, I changed to a new company. My manager is super good. I'm in class now. Wait for me to come back. After Shuxiang posted on her blog, there were immediately comments. They all congratulated Shuxiang and ridiculed her previous company. They were happy that she could change to a good company. Shuxiang decided that from tomorrow onwards, she would share her progress in learning how to draw. Tang Guo followed the two of them and her gaze fell on Hao Yi. Hao Yi took out his phone and said calmly, I haven't logged into Weibo for many years. How many years is that? Tang Guo asked. Shuxiang and Yin Zhuyun were also very curious. They had heard a little about Hao Yi's history. Hao Yi smiled carelessly. It's been about 6 years. There are too many haters and crazy fans. Even if I shut off my private messages and comments, I can't stop those people from tagging me every day. The three of them looked at Hao Yi sympathetically. Hao Yi logged into Weibo. Because it had been too long, he had forgotten the password. It took him some time to get it back. When he logged in, there were indeed many posts about him. He clicked on them and found that most of the posts were from 5 to 6 years ago. Since 3 years ago, the number of posts about him had gradually decreased. The last post was from 3 months ago. He opened his private messages and comments. Since he had returned to this circle, he had to face these things. He had already become strong enough. Everything on the internet, no matter how much they talked about him, could no longer affect him. Hao Yi, from today onwards, I'm an actor again. Those who had stopped being fans back then had basically stopped being fans. He looked at the pile of numbers. He didn't leave without saying goodbye. When he left Weibo, he said goodbye to his fans. Now that he said he was back, it was very appropriate. Peak. Chapter 4206. Hao Yi was prepared for someone to scold him later. Even if many years had passed, the people who slandered him back then would probably not have a good impression of him. They would still mock him when they needed to. Even if they didn't mock him, Qi would definitely do something if he knew about this. He knew the other party's character. The comments came faster than Hao Yi expected. What he didn't expect was that the first comment was actually 4 words, welcome back. After this comment, there was a string of welcome back. It was the same as the crazy and passionate fans he remembered. Hao Yi quickly recalled that after so many years, the group of people who used to be his fans were all in their teens and 20s. Now that so many years had passed, most of them were over 20 years old. They were much more mature and should have such a reaction. However, there were still some relatively lively comments after that. For the time being, he didn't find anyone attacking him. He chose the first fan who welcomed him and replied, "Thank you." Naturally, that comment would become a hot comment. Although he didn't take the popular route, he was still very grateful to these people who were willing to like him and rationally support him. Later, a fan asked him if his contract had expired and he had signed with a new company. He also reminded him to look at the contract carefully. Hao Yi looked at this comment and smiled at Tang Guo. They've all grown up. The little fan from back then seems to understand what's going on. You sound a little old. Tang Guo also smiled. Reply to the other party. Since they're still willing to follow you, they must really like you. They've all grown up and matured. There's a big difference from before. Hao Yi nodded. With this comment, he replied that he had signed with a new company and that there was no problem with the contract. He even mentioned that the manager was very good and that they would definitely work well together. At the same time, Tang Guo, who was newly following Hao Yi, was also discovered by his few remaining fans. Good Brother should have signed with Morning Star Entertainment. Did you guys see that? Good Brother and Morning Star Entertainment's Tang Guo are following each other. I saw it. What kind of company is Morning Star Entertainment? Good Brother won't lose out, right? To be honest, I regret what happened back then. I wasn't young and didn't know better. Later, after the big fans, I found out how new our Good Brother was. Morning Star Entertainment has a good reputation at the moment, and this agent has a good reputation too. Have you seen the recent season of Survival on an Island? The actress with the hen called Xiao Hua Hua is an artist under this manager. I know. I've been watching it every day. I've already climbed half of the wall. I didn't expect Brother Yu to come back before I could climb over. But I really like Brother Yu. Now that they both have the same manager, does that mean I can have both of them? I know that every time Brother Yu is asked how he learned these things, he always says that it's a one-on-one class for his agent. If that's the case, Good Brother has really met a good person. I never thought that I would be able to see my Good Brother return to the industry in my lifetime. I'm so touched. I have no more regrets in this life. These fans were not sending private messages. Instead, they were discussing this matter on Hao Yi's blog. Hao Yi silently watched their discussion with a gentle expression. There are still many people who care about you. By the way, did the fans call you Brother Yu in the past? Tang Guo's focus was a little strange. She always felt that it was not the case. Hao Yi's expression was a little uncomfortable. Of course not. Chapter 4207. Shuoxiang saw Hao Yi's indescribable expression and quickly said, "It's not a secret. Can't you find out after searching online? In the past, fans used to call you Good Brother." Tang Guo, I want to laugh out loud, but I'm afraid of hurting the artist's self-esteem. What should I do? System, laugh first. It's not a big deal. The host was good at coaxing people. Hao Yi could see that Tang Guo was trying to hold back her laughter, so he was relieved. Laugh if you want. Tang Guo really laughed, but she didn't laugh out loud. Instead, her lips and eyebrows were curved. When she smiled, she was especially charming. Shuoxiang and Yin Zhuyun both felt that their manager had entered the wrong industry. Entering the entertainment industry with this appearance, her appearance alone was enough to suppress many people. Hao Yi, I can see that you don't like to post on Weibo, so I'll force you to do it. In the future, you can post whatever you want. If it's controversial, you still need to discuss it with me in advance. Hao Yi replied, okay. He was a little surprised that Tang Guo didn't care about his Weibo, so he asked, you don't care about my Weibo? Why should I care about your Weibo? I believe that you all know what to do. You're all adults, so you have to be responsible for your own actions. She was so busy, but she still cared about the artist's Weibo. She was dreaming. She should take care of it herself. Hao Yi really didn't have a strong desire to show off on the internet. In this kind of situation, he was more serious and said whatever he wanted, just like a veteran. In the past, his Weibo was managed by his uncle. Fortunately, he registered it himself, so it was easy to find the password. Shuoxiang liked to interact with her fans, and Yin Zhuyun was also very willing to share her life situation. The three of them were very satisfied with Tanggua's arrangement. You have half a year to study. If you meet a good role in this half a year, I will try my best to help you fight for it. So you have to hurry. The three of them nodded quickly. They didn't want to relax for a moment with such a good opportunity. After making arrangements for the three of them, Tanguo went to check on Yu Jiwei and the other two during her free time. Yu Jiwei's house had already been built. The support of the house was made of dead trees. With his exquisite craftsmanship, he pieced the dead trees together and made some carvings. He had attracted a large number of fans, and even some old carpenters were watching Yu Jiwei's live broadcast. At first, the roof was covered with some grass. To prevent rain from leaking, he also added banana leaves to cover it. Later on, everything stabilized and he had some free time. He began to chop down dead wood and was making wooden tiles. This shocked the audience. It was clearly a challenge to survive on an isolated island, but when they looked at Yu Jiwei, it was as if they were looking at the wandering life of a craftsman. This feeling was really strange. Now that more than a month had passed, only about 30 of the original 100 people were left. Except for Yu Jiwei, everyone had lost a few pounds. Yu Jiwei was the only one who lived happily every day. If someone wanted to trade something with him, as long as they took out something of equal value, Yu Jiwei would not refuse. If others wanted to learn skills, Yu Jiwei would also try his best to teach them. This was what Tanggua had told him from the beginning. If someone wanted to ask for advice, he could teach them. Without her systematic training, some things couldn't be learned in a short period of time. However, some small tricks were more useful for the people who were wandering on the island. Unknowingly, Yu Jiwei's actions had attracted a large number of fans, and he was completely popular. Chapter 4208. Recently, Yu Jiwei appeared on the hot search list from time to time and even doubled the ratings of the show. Even those who were not interested in the show came to watch it. Those who said that Yu Jiwei was just putting on a show felt embarrassed when they saw that he seemed to be living in seclusion on an isolated island. Tanggua checked Yu Jiwei's Weibo again. Yu Jiwei only had a few 100,000 fans before, but now he had 5 million. After checking Yu Jiwei's Weibo, she contacted Jiang Qiqi and found out that she was making good progress. The director had specially hired her as the martial arts director of the crew. Many of the moves were discussed by her and the other martial arts directors. Jiang Qiqi had also been told by Tanggua that if the martial arts director wanted beautiful moves, she could teach them. She did not need to worry about anything. Sister Tang, this is my first time being a sister. Now, other than the director, everyone calls me Sister Jiang. How do you feel? Not bad. I like this feeling. So this is who I am. I used to wrap myself up and deliberately become someone else to cater to the public. I always felt that something was wrong. So, you've let yourself go. Tanggua remembered some time ago, Jiang Qiqi was photographed going to a bar late at night with several men. Originally, those people wanted to slander Jiang Qiqi, but they didn't expect that in the end, Jiang Qiqi was drinking with several martial arts instructors, and they were all knocked out by her. Sister Jiang, you're quite good at drinking. Sister Tang, I don't want to do it. I'll take it easy now. I won't cause you any trouble. It's okay. As long as it's not a mistake, you can act according to your nature. As long as you can withstand the pressure. It was not bad to have some topics to talk about. Anyway, she could clear her name. She could just take it that the paparazzi helped Jiang Qiqi promote and save some operating expenses. Host, the paparazzi who photographed Jiang Qiqi were undoubtedly warned by Qing Xian. Don't worry about it. This kind of small action was harmless and would only make Qing Xian more annoyed. Helay's drama would probably be completed in about a month. Tang Guo called Helay's assistant and asked a lot of questions about the crew. After she had a good understanding of the situation, Helay came to answer the phone. Sister Tang, you're right. Fortunately, I didn't become arrogant because of your reminder. Qing Xian's acting skills in the past half a month were like a rocket, improving rapidly. If I had maintained my original appearance, would have been crushed by her. After discovering Qing Xian's talent, Helay didn't dare to waste any more time. Every day, he would recall what Tang Guo had taught him and read the works recommended by Tang Guo. Fortunately, his talent was not bad, so he was not suppressed by Qing Xian. But the two of them went back and forth, and their acting was indeed the highlight of every shoot. Because the two of them were exciting enough, the director even added scenes for them. Right now, Helay's scenes had already surpassed the second male lead and Qing Xian's scenes were only a little short of the female lead. Because of this incident, Qing Xian was hated by the female lead. Recently, there was a lot of negative news about her, so she didn't have time to do anything. It's good that you know. There will always be someone better than you. In this circle, you must always have a learning attitude. Even if you meet someone with bad acting skills today, you can't mock them. Who knows, they might be enlightened in the future. You have to be especially respectful to those seniors. Sister Tang, don't worry. I don't dare to be arrogant. It's too scary. Helay said with lingering fear. Oh right, Sister Tang, I heard that you signed a new person. Yes, you can get to know her after you finish filming. Chapter 4209. Sister Tang, are you very busy now? Helay hesitated for a moment before saying, Sister Tang, if you're not busy, can you come and visit me? I want to practice a few more scenes with you to get a feel for it. Tang Guo could feel Helay's reliance on her as if he really treated her as a sister, so she agreed. Okay. Hao Yi was sitting beside Tang Guo and reading a book. When he heard Tang Guo's words, he couldn't help but ask, Sister Tang, are you going to see Helay? Probably because of his training, he could hear Helay's reliance on Tang Guo. He didn't know why, but he really wanted to see him. Yeah, Xiao Lei should have a problem with his acting. I'll go and take a look. Hao Yi said, why don't I go with you? I haven't seen the crew in a long time and want to get used to it. Also, I can get a feel for it. Tang Guo obviously agreed. Hao Yi couldn't help but smile. Tang Guo thought that the director's scripts were all good, so it wouldn't be a bad idea to bring Hao Yi along. Maybe there would be a suitable role in the next movie and people would think of Hao Yi. Since that was the case, she would bring all three of them along. Hao Yi looked at the limousine and glanced at Tang Guo sitting beside him. He didn't know where to put his expression. Didn't she say that the two of them would go together? Why were there two more people? I'll bring you to show your faces. Director Su is very good. He's a director who takes his work seriously. If you get familiar with him, he might consider you when there are good roles in the future. As long as you can move him, it's easy to get roles that aren't the female or male lead. As for the first role, with their current results, it wasn't enough to convince the public. Eating one mouthful at a time wouldn't make one choke. One had to walk step by step to be stable. The filming location was currently in another city. After they got out of the car, they still had to take a plane there. Sister Tang, isn't it too extravagant to be in first class? Shua Xiang asked. Will the company reimburse us? Tang Guo waved her hand. I'm not going to reimburse this. It's more comfortable here. If you follow me, you'll get this treatment. 2 hours later, they arrived at the destination city. Not long after, they arrived at Helay's set. Coincidentally, they met Helay and Qing Xian. The two seemed to be on par. Tang Gui discovered that Qing Xian's acting skills had indeed improved a lot. He didn't find it strange. She was a movie queen, after all. She probably wasn't used to it before. Now that she met someone with good acting skills, it was normal for her to improve. After one scene, Qing Xian and Qing Xian, they both. Tang Gui's appearance cheered He Lei up again. He Lei discovered that there was a special gaze staring at him. Looking over, it was actually a very handsome man. Xiao Lei, let's go. We'll find a place to practice. He Lei retracted his gaze. Was this the artist that Sister Tang had just signed? That pair of eyes seemed calm, but why did he feel that there was a sharp knife hidden inside? However, this person's aura was really extraordinary. Why hadn't he heard of it before? Judging from his age, did he debut midway? Qing Xian watched as Tang Guo left with a group of people. Her expression changed slightly. Each of Tang Guo's people was doing better than the other. She felt unconvinced. It was as if after she left, Tang Guo distributed the resources to her people. These people all used the resources and she was the one who dragged Tang Guo down. Qing Xian, you've been doing well recently. Your acting skills have improved quickly. Director Su praised. He Lei is not bad too. You two work well together. Qing Xian was unhappy to be praised. She had been in the entertainment industry for many years before she got the title of Best Actress. He Lei, this little fresh meat, could actually act with her. No matter how much she improved, he could take it. She had never succeeded in a scene. In the waiting room, Tang Guo and He Lei were acting. She realized that He Lei had reached a bottleneck. Although they had acted together before, it was only once and it wasn't the best. Now, the scenes with Qing Xian had improved. The previous scenes were not good enough. Just as He Lei was troubled, Hao Yi said, "Let me try. Maybe I can give you some inspiration." Chapter 42:10. The character that He Lei was playing was the third male lead. He was originally a hooligan who had nothing to do. But, if one were to dig deeper, the reason why Fan Shi was able to become a hooligan was because he had a story that no one knew about. It was impossible for a normal person to suddenly become a nobody. In the beginning, He Lei's performance was very smooth. He portrayed the character of Fan Shi to the fullest. So, once the film was released, He Lei's character would definitely turn out to be a real hooligan. He Lei's fans would definitely be shocked by his performance. However, he was currently facing difficulties. He was the third male lead who was infatuated with the second female lead. So, he acted with Qing Xian the most. Ever since he fell in love with Mi Yashue, he began to hate his identity as a hooligan. He felt that he was a filthy worm in the mud that could not be exposed to the light and was not worthy of standing beside Mi Yashue. However, they were destined to have a conflict. Fan Shi was destined to be a big help to Mi Yashue. In other words, he was the one who helped Mi Yashue do bad things. He Lei's initial analysis was that Fan Shi's character was infatuated with Mi Yashue. That was why he did things that violated the rules. Even though he knew it was wrong, he was still willing to do it because of this inferiority complex. He was even willing to sell his soul in order to climb to a higher position. So far, Fan Shi's progress had reached a point where no one would think of him as a hooligan anymore. At the very least, no one would talk about his past on the surface. Qing Xian's acting skills had improved too quickly. So, when he acted with Qing Xian, he could not act with the same mindset as when he acted with Tang Guo. Instead, he had to analyze Fan Shi's character. He Lei's bottleneck was that Fan Shi's character had changed. He was a little confused and unable to control Fan Shi. However, if he continued acting, there wouldn't be too much of a problem. But Fan Shi's character would no longer be outstanding. In fact, it would become a big failure in the later stages of the film. When the time came, the audience would only hate Fan Shi. Hao Yi, what do you think? Hao Yi was reading the script. As the filming for the day had ended, they had plenty of time to read it. Hao Yi read the script for 2 hours straight. During this time, he was particularly focused. Tang Gua asked when she saw that Hao Yi had reached the last page of the script. Hao Yi closed the script and said, "There's no problem. Let's give it a try." In the following plot, because of the male lead, Mayaxu impulsively decided to get engaged to Fan Shi. When she proudly told Fan Shi the news, Fan Shi had to appear very happy. Then, he would do something to express his feelings. During the wedding, the Missy did not show any intention of attending. Instead, she simply called Fan Shi and told him that she did not want to get married. Instead, she told him that the wedding would be Fan Shi's solo performance. His beloved goddess wasn't coming on her wedding day. How would he react with just a phone call? By the time Hao Yi stood up, Tang Gua had already sat down. She hooked her finger at Hao Yi, who was now Fan Shi. Even though Fan Shi was no longer an ordinary person, he still behaved like a puppy. He obediently walked over to Yashue and asked in a deep voice filled with love, "Yashue, what else do you need me to do?" "Marry me." Yashue lifted Fan Shi's chin with her index finger and stared at his handsome face. Seeing his surprised expression, she frowned and repeated impatiently, "Marry me." Chapter 42:11. Yeah. Yashue. Fan Shi's excited eyes contained a hint of helplessness. He was like a child that had been neglected for a long time and was suddenly rewarded with a candy. He was happy, he was in disbelief, and he wanted it. He lay and the others stood nearby and watched with rapt attention. In particular, he lay was deep in thought. As expected, in his heart, the perfect Yashue was his manager. But why did he suddenly feel that the perfect Fan Shi was the old artist that his manager had just signed? Earlier, he took advantage of the time to investigate Hao Ye's background. Perhaps this was his senior. Apparently, the incident back then was not simple. He lay snapped out of his daze and continued to watch the couple's performance. "You don't want to." Yashue pushed Fan Shi away in disgust. Fan Shi quickly snapped out of his daze and said, "As long as Yashue is willing to get married, we'll get married." He lay carefully observed Hao Ye's performance. His words, expressions, and actions were perfect. So, was this senior once a pervert? Especially the maturity of a hooligan. This was something that he lay lacked. Perhaps this required some life experience. He lay made a mental note of Fan Shi's performance. It seemed he would need to interact more with this senior to make Fan Shi's character better. "Okay, you can leave now. Everything's fine." To Yashue, no matter how high Fan Shi's status was, he was still just a dog by her side. Of course, this was only the current situation. Everything would change as the plot developed and the character's psychological activities changed. For example, it was already unbelievable that Yashue wanted to marry Fan Shi. Based on her situation, she could have chosen someone else. Why did she choose Fan Shi? Did this mean that she also felt that Fan Shi was the only person that was loyal to her? Did she think that no matter what she did, Fan Shi would protect her and not hurt her? In reality, every scene with Fan Shi was a little different. It was a foreshadowing for future events. "Yashue, I'm going to prepare for our wedding. When do you want to get married?" "Anything. You arrange it." From Yashue's attitude, it was obvious that she wanted to get married out of spite. It was impossible that she really wanted to get married. Could Fan-Shi not tell? Of course not. How could he not have seen through the fact that he had been a hooligan all this time? He just didn't want to shatter this beautiful dream. Marrying Miss Myakshu was something he never dared to think about in his entire life. Mia was the one who suggested it. No matter what the result was, he would prepare for it seriously. Therefore, when he turned to leave the room, there was a moment of sadness in his eyes. However, when he left the room and met other people, he revealed a happy expression. His joy was overflowing, and everyone could feel his happiness. Tanghua had arranged for the rest of the people present to play small roles. Some of them were Fan-Shi's subordinates, some were his friends, and some were people that he knew. This was Fan-Shi's solo performance. He shared his upcoming happy event with everyone. The most ingenious way Hao Yi handled it was that every time he shared the news with others, he would leave his back to the camera before he left. One or two such scenes were nothing, but if there were several of them, it would mean a lot. Chapter 42:12. He-Lei's eyes grew brighter and brighter. After the scene, he held Hao Ye's hand excitedly. "Senior, your back is amazing." "I got it." "Thank you." "Take a break." "Let's do the second scene," said Tanghua. She was actually amused. She didn't know if Hao Yi knew about the grudge between her and Miyashue. After this scene, the audience might not have a good impression of Miyashue. They would think that Miyashue was too heartless and wouldn't like her anymore. If she couldn't make it right, then the most annoying character in the show would be Miyashue. Whether she could make it right or not depended on Qing Xian's skills. She felt that if Qing Xian found out about this, she would find a way to make it right. For He-Lei's future, she still hoped that Qing Xian could make it right. If the show was good, He-Lei's value would rise. Because of Qing Xian, he would continue to improve. Newbies needed to be whipped constantly. Hao Yi was resting. He held the script tightly. His heart was beating fast. When he was acting with Tanghua just now and she mentioned marriage, he had a special feeling in his heart. At that moment, he was brought into the show. Yes, he was brought into the show by Tanghua. Now, he felt that his heart was beating faster. He didn't feel that he was in the show. It seemed that she was really saying that they should get married. Hao Yi quickly shook his head. No way. Was he so immersed in the show that he couldn't get out? What's wrong? Tanghua saw that Hao Yi kept shaking his head. She patted his shoulder and put her hand on his forehead. Are you not feeling well? If you are, rest first. Your forehead is not hot. Hey, it's a little hot. Tanghua was about to let go of her hand when she found that Hao Ye's forehead was suddenly hot. She looked down and found that Hao Ye's face was slightly red. Hao Yi held the script tightly. Go away. It won't be hot. But he didn't want to say this out loud. Seeing that Tanghua might ask him to rest, he said, maybe there's a lack of oxygen in the room. I'll be fine after some rest, Hao Yi added. He stood up and opened the window. The cold wind blew in, and the red on his face disappeared. I've already recovered. Tanghua walked in front of him and looked at him carefully. She reached out and placed her hand on his forehead. Hao Yi didn't have time to dodge. His manager was concerned about him. It didn't seem right for him to avoid her. Forget it, forget it. Isn't it just a touch on the forehead? System, forget it. Today, he touched his forehead, but tomorrow, he wouldn't know where it was. How careless. The second interview continued. Tanghua took out her phone and stared at the interview on the television. Today was supposed to be her wedding day, but she didn't even have the intention to change out of her wedding dress. It was her assistant who reminded her. Get married. Yes, young mistress. President Fan has already prepared everything and is on his way. Miyashue remained silent for a minute. She then lazily pulled out her phone and dialed Fan Shi's number. Hao Yi was also in the zone. He quickly pulled out his phone and answered the call with a nervous look on his face. Yashue, did you wait for too long? I'll be right there. He spoke quickly because he didn't expect Miyashue to not cancel the wedding even on the day of the wedding. So, he had great expectations. Perhaps he would be lucky enough to marry Miyashue. He spoke quickly because he had already expected something. Previously, when they communicated, it was Miyashue who spoke. He listened. He did what Miyashue told him. Peak. Chapter 42:13. This was the first time Fan Shi had picked up a phone call and spoke with a purpose. This meant that he did not want to hear anything other than the wedding from Miyashue. His hand trembled slightly as he held on to the phone. This showed that he was afraid. If this person was not Miyashue, he might have hung up the phone. However, he did not dare to hang up the phone. Although he appeared calm on the surface, his heart was in a mess. After Fan Shi spoke quickly, Miyashue's voice came through the phone half a minute later. I don't want to get married. Don't come over. Fan Shi's originally nervous expression finally changed. In particular, the smile on his face instantly disappeared. Okay. He did not ask why Miyashue had decided. He did not need to ask why. He would not hang up the phone. Miyashue did not hang up the phone either. Fan Shi tried to find something to say. Yashue, have you had breakfast? I'll bring it over for you in a bit. No need, Miyashue hung up the phone. Next up was Fan Shi's personal performance. The smile on his face was no longer on his face. However, he did not say a single word. From preparing for the wedding in a rush to canceling the wedding, he did not say a single word. Everyone present stared at him as he announced that he would not be getting married today because of an accident. After the guests were evacuated, he was the only one left at the wedding venue. He looked at the elaborate decorations and walked out of the venue. His back was very, very long. After the two performances were over, he pulled Hao Yi away, and the two of them started to discuss in whispers. He felt that Fan Shi was indeed a senior. Fan Shi was not someone he could compare to. In the early stages, he acted quite well. However, in the later stages, he could not control his emotions well. So, he and Hao Yi exchanged contact details and followed each other's Weibo. It seemed they were planning to communicate for a long time. Hao Yi's vigilance towards He also unknowingly disappeared. Even he felt that he was acting strangely. After the discussion, He noticed that Hao Yi's face was a little pale. Brother, you don't look well. Are you really sick? No. Hao Yi understood that he had gotten into character. It was not because he was in character. Instead, he was in character because the person playing Miyashue was his manager. When Miyashue said that she was getting married, he was genuinely happy. When she said that she wasn't going to get married, he was really disappointed, as if he had lost the whole world. At that moment, he thought he was Fan Shi and Tangguo was Miyashue. He was clearly a very rational person. He had never been like this before. He didn't know what was going on. Could this be the after effect of not being in the spotlight for a long time? In any case, he needed time to calm down. Perhaps it was right for him to take on less emotional roles. If he were to get into character every single time, it would be too tiring. System, you worry too much. Sister Tang, I think there's something wrong with my good brother. He doesn't look well. He Lei admired Hao Yi very much. Hao Yi had only read the script once, and he was able to act out Fan Shi so well. Earlier, when he talked to Shui Xiang and Yin Zhuyun, he heard that Hao Yi was indeed very good. He Lei understood that Hao Yi was a gift from God. Tang Guo walked up to Hao Yi and touched his forehead again. A trace of helplessness flashed through Hao Ye's eyes. He felt his heartbeat quicken as an idea formed in his mind. This idea made his hand tremble. He raised his head and looked into Tang Guo's eyes. He knew very well that she was Tang Guo, not Miyashue. However, he still remembered the two scenes from earlier. He finally understood that the problem did not lie with the character. The problem lay with the manager. Let's go. I'll take you to the hospital for a checkup. It would be bad if it's a hidden disease. System, host, I just did a scan for you. All of his organs are very healthy. There are no signs of disease. Don't worry, he's fine. He's as strong as an ox. Tang Guo ignored the system and took Hao Yi to the hospital for a checkup. Seeing that she insisted, Hao Yi did not refuse. He decided to wait and see. If it really was, he didn't know what to do. He didn't want to become Fan Shi. System, did the host not hear what I said? His scan could not be wrong. Chapter 42:14. The medical report showed that Hao Yi was very healthy. System, host, see. I told you, how can the medical equipment here compare to mine? As long as I want to, I'm a system that's more powerful than a microscope. I can see cells, bacteria, and molecules clearly. Tang Guo, I know. System, then why? But everyone doesn't believe it, so I checked. Everyone, don't worry. Look at how worried Xiao Lei is about his senior. She didn't expect that Hao Yi would gain a fan like He Lei after showing off his skills. Now, He Lei was looking at Hao Yi with shining eyes. He Lei didn't have any works until now. He debuted as a popular young star, so he had a lot of fans. He took the initiative to follow someone's matter and it attracted a lot of attention. Hao Ye's return, other than the fans who used to be his fans and hadn't forgotten him, they wouldn't care. He Lei's next attack caused a splash. Not long after, He Lei became a trending topic, #He Lei follows #then. Many people went to search and naturally found out that the person who was being followed was Hao Yi. Hence, Hao Yi also became a trending topic, #Hao Yi returns When Tang Guo saw this, she couldn't help but laugh. She said to the few of them, I have a feeling that you guys will help the company save a lot of publicity fees in the future. Look, it wasn't easy to become a trending topic. Hao Yi shook his head. I haven't returned to work yet. I'll be mocked. Then are you afraid? Tang Guo asked. Hao Yi said nonchalantly, I've passed the most difficult time. This is nothing. He had once felt sad and annoyed about the online violence. He even couldn't sleep at night and doubted the world. But that was all in the past. He was still a calm person. Back then, he felt that the internet had affected him too much. After saying goodbye to his fans, he never logged on to Weibo again. Now, these words from the outside world couldn't affect him anymore. He didn't care whether it was a trending topic or not. But Tang Guo seemed to be very happy that someone was helping to promote it. He was happy too. Since his manager was very satisfied, being a trending topic wasn't a big deal. I'll arrange a job for you right away. Tang Guo said, I've already tested you just now. Not only did your skills not deteriorate, but they also improved. You must have worked hard in secret these years. it won't be a problem for you to act directly. However, he still had to go through the lessons. I'll arrange everything for you. Once you get a role, just focus on your work. Tang Guo turned around and said to Xiao Xiang, you don't have to rush. Practice your basic skills first. When there's a good script, I'll help you fight for it. Sister Yin as well. That day, Tang Guo asked the system to help her find a script, mainly for Hao Yi. In just 3 days, the system had found a lot of them. He first deleted and selected them, then showed the best few to Tang Guo. The script that Tang Guo had her eyes on was an online drama, which was changed by an online drama. The most important thing about watching this web drama was that this character was not bad. Moreover, there were no emotional scenes at all. Although this drama was more relaxed, the role of the male lead didn't need to be as burdensome as regular drama roles. He just needed everyone to really play the role. The funny part of this fantasy web drama was the entire plot. In other words, everyone was acting seriously, but it gave people a very funny feeling. If the production budget was sufficient, this drama would definitely be a hit. For a regular drama script, it would definitely be very difficult for Hao Yi to play the male lead. Even if it was an investment, he might not be able to get it. But for an online drama, it was different. According to her investigation, the director of this drama was currently looking for investment. Then, she would throw in money. After reading the script, Hao Yi also showed a very interested look. Although the whole drama was humorous, he really didn't need to pretend to be funny. He just needed to act as usual. He felt that the author was also a talent. He actually came up with such an interesting story. This drama is very good. Tang Guo could see Hao Yi's worry. You're worried that the scriptwriter will make random changes and that the production budget won't be enough. This will make this drama a shoddy production, right? Yes. Actually, some of the scripts for online dramas are very good, but many investors don't like them. As a result, there isn't enough funding. Moreover, the script is randomly changed, so a good drama will be ruined. Tang Guo's lips curved. Then you can rest assured. I plan to invest in this drama. We'll make the decisions for the entire production team. Hao Yi was stunned. They'll make the decisions. They made such a big deal as soon as they came. Hao Yi, act well. I'm very optimistic about this drama. It will definitely make me a lot of money. Hao Yi nodded blankly and read the script again. His agent didn't lack money. So if they made the decisions, this web drama would probably be a hit. Peak. Chapter 42:15. The script that Tang Guo helped Hao Yi choose was called, I Only Want to Rule the World. The gist of the script was that an emperor accidentally obtained a special ability, mind reading. He could hear the thoughts of the people around him. This emperor was originally a talented and ambitious man who wanted to rule the world. However, when he obtained mind reading, he realized that everyone around him was trying to stop his career from progressing. His loyal subjects, his obedient concubines, everything was just a facade. Among the courtiers, many hoped that he would die. They hoped that he would be able to assist a young prince to ascend the throne so that he would be easier to control. The concubines in the harem were all spies that were planted by various people around him. The joke of the script was that these subjects and concubines tried their best to stop his career, but he rejected them all coldly and heartlessly. This led to a series of ridiculous events. For example, one of the concubines added aphrodisiac to his wine, hoping that the emperor would never attend morning court again. He heard what the concubines were thinking, so he gave the cup of wine to the concubines to drink. After the concubines finished drinking, he threw them into ice water to soak. Another example was that the concubines always stopped him halfway and said that they wanted to play the zither, dance, and sing for him. Then, he made them sing, dance, and play until they would never want to do it again. Another example was that the subjects complained about him in their hearts and thought of their own plans. Because after he heard it, they thought that they would be proud of their plans, but in the end, they were slapped in the face by the emperor. So, in this drama, everyone was acting seriously, but the effect was relaxed and funny. The next day, Tanguo contacted the director of this drama. So far, the director had raised a few 100,000 yuan, but it was less than 1,000,000 yuan. If it was a crudely made web drama, it was still possible to save money. The director felt that this script was really good and hoped that he could rope in more people to invest. The funds were basically used for the costumes. As for the actors, he planned to choose low-paid and not popular actors whose acting skills were passable. When Tanguo found the director, Li Qingfu, and said that she wanted to invest 10 million yuan in this web drama, he was stunned. Investing 10 million yuan in a web drama? Which idiot would burn money like this? Miss Tang, have you really thought it through? This is a web drama. Li Qingfu was worried that Tanguo didn't understand, so he deliberately repeated himself, plus, the actors I choose may not be famous. Tanguo, I've already thought about it. Although this is a web series, I like it very much and think it's not bad. Most importantly, one of my artists has taken a fancy to the male lead in this drama. When Li Qingfu heard this, he wondered if the male artist had hooked up with this rich woman and wanted to act for fun. Li Qingfu looked embarrassed. 10 million was good, but he really didn't want to give the male lead, the soul of the whole drama, to someone who didn't know how to act. It wasn't easy for him to pick out this script. He didn't want to ruin it. Director Li, I'll recommend him. If you think he's good, then use him. If not, then don't. I'll still invest 10 million. What do you think? Tanguo could tell what Li Qingfu was thinking. Because of this, she was even more confident that the show would be a hit. His pay doesn't need to be too high. The director can arrange my 10 million yuan on his own. It would be best if he could arrange for it to be spent on costumes and makeup. As for the rest of the actors, you can choose them yourself. Li Qingfu thought to himself, how could there be such a good thing? She invested money, and she didn't just give him the actors directly. Instead, she wanted him to take a look first. Chapter 42:16. I wonder who Miss Tang is recommending. Li Qingfu asked. If the person was good, it wouldn't matter. If it really didn't work, he felt that they could discuss it and give the other party another supporting role. It wouldn't be difficult. He's waiting outside. If Director Li is free, you could try him out today. I just don't know if Director Li has completed the script. Li Qingfu said, it's all done. I personally edited this. He had high hopes for this drama and didn't want it to be messed up by others, so he personally edited it. Hao Yi, who was waiting outside, was called in. The director didn't waste time and directly handed him the script and showed him a few scenes. Actually, the moment he saw Hao Yi, he felt that if his acting skills were passable, it wouldn't be a problem to use this person. He was close to 30 years old, the golden age. He was handsome and had an indescribable temperament. He didn't give people a feeling of sharpness, but he was like wine that had been stored for many years. There would always be a mellow taste that left a lasting aftertaste. Also, Hao Ye's height was definitely the first male lead in his heart. He already had a brain. When he wore the black golden dragon robe, how extraordinary would it be? Therefore, the 10 million must be used to make a few more good-looking dragon robes and a crown. This was the main lead. In terms of clothing, he definitely couldn't be shabby. Hao Yi was already reading the script. Tang Guo and Li Qingfu sat side by side. Seeing him staring at Hao Yi in deep thought, those small eyes of his narrowed, showing satisfaction from time to time, she knew that Li Qingfu was very satisfied with the current Hao Yi. As for the acting, she was even less worried. For today, she even asked Hao Yi to bring the props, a knife. Ever since he had the ability to read minds, this emperor liked to hang a knife on his waist. She didn't believe that the props team could make a good knife, so she took a real one. However, the opening was sealed with something so that it wouldn't hurt people. Director Lee, I can provide the crew with some props, swords, weapons, and some decorations, wine vessels, and so on. Tang Guo took out her phone and showed Li Qingfu the photos she took previously. Li Qingfu had good taste. At first glance, he couldn't help but praise in his heart. Good Lord, not only did she invest money, but she also invested in props. This was real. Although he couldn't tell the origin of these things, they were definitely authentic. Li Qingfu was excited. This way, the production crew would save a lot of money and could use it to optimize other things. Miss Tang, do you only need this role? Li Qingfu asked. Just now, he did a search and found that Tang Guo was an agent. Yu Jiwei, who was very popular recently, was an artist under this manager. No wonder Yu Jiwei changed so much. It must be this manager's doing. Those training courses should be very expensive, right? Xing Chen Entertainment was really lucky. However, his luck wasn't bad either, hee. The artists under me are all busy. Currently, there are still 2 who are charging their batteries. I'm not sure about the specific roles in this script. I only found out that Director Lee is preparing to shoot this drama after asking around. Therefore, he specially went to read the original novel of this drama and took a fancy to the male lead. She didn't know how the director would arrange the other roles. If there are any suitable small roles, I have 2 artists who are temporarily free. I can let them take a look. The director can arrange some roles for them. Vertex. Chapter 42:17. A few guest roles wouldn't affect anything. They could even let Zhuo Xiang and Yin Yang show their faces. The main thing was that this drama would definitely be a hit. Showing their faces wouldn't cause them to lose popularity. In the future, when the drama became popular, it would increase their discussion points. They definitely couldn't have too many scenes. After all, she still had to give them the script. When the time came and there were suitable ones, they would definitely focus on the main roles. Then we can let them come over and try. The other characters in this drama don't have a lot of scenes. The main focus is on the male lead. Li Qingfu was thinking that if they were suitable, he would definitely arrange it. Okay, then I'll let them in. Li Qingfu. Was this a manager who brought 3 leggings with her? Did she bring everyone with her wherever she went? He suspected that she was doing it on purpose. Tang Guo was really doing it on purpose. As long as she was interested in a drama, she would definitely bring the artists under her to walk around and show their faces. Maybe this was an opportunity. Other than classes, they didn't have any other activities. They might as well come out and look for business. Zhuo Xiang and Yin Zhuyun were also called in. Tang Guo introduced them to the basic information. When he saw the 2 of them, Li Qingfu's eyes lit up again. Zhuo Xiang was playful and cute. Yin Zhuyun exuded the aura of a middle-aged woman. They were both very attractive. He quickly recalled the roles in the script in his mind. In the end, his gaze fell on Yin Zhuyun. He quickly flipped through the script and said to Tang Guo, I think Yin Zhuyun might be able to try out for the role of the Empress Dowager. If there's anyone in the palace who is sincere to the emperor and wishes him well, it's the Empress Dowager, who isn't his biological mother. On the surface, the Empress Dowager's attitude isn't very good. Before the emperor had the ability to read minds, he had misunderstood her. But after he had the ability to read minds, he realized that she was the one who was truly good to him. However, after the emperor had the ability to read minds, the Empress Dowager always thought that he was crazy. So, this role will still require some acting skills. Let's give it a try first. Thus, Yin Zhuyun also got the script for the Empress Dowager to read. She would be able to rehearse with Hao Yi later. Shuxiang is a very young lady. I can only see youth and purity in her. Li Qingfu pondered slowly. She fits the role of the emperor's cousin very well. However, this cousin is a white-skinned, black-skinned, sesame rice ball. I don't know if this girl can handle such a role. Let's take a look. Just pick 2 parts, one good and one bad. Let's see how well you can understand the role. Shuxiang took the script very seriously. Even if it was a show that her manager had invested in, she would still do it even if it was very tiring. Li Qingfu couldn't help but sigh. He had never seen anything like this before. The manager brought a few artists over. The artists were all like obedient children and their attitudes were so good. Moreover, the image of these people was indeed very suitable for the role he had chosen. If the final result was good, it would be a good thing. Director Li, I'll invest 10 million in you first. You just have to make sure that the finished product is of high quality. If you don't have enough money, give me a call. If you need any props, you can communicate with me first. If I can provide them, you don't need to use fake props. Li Qingfu thanked him very excitedly. His luck had really turned for the better. The 3 of them took an hour to ponder over the script. They were all very free today. Li Qingfu wasn't busy either. Even if he was, he couldn't be busy at this time. Peak. Chapter 42:18. An hour later, the 3 of them started to rehearse. Li Qingfu chose scenes that were related to the 3 of them. Tang Guo did not plan to rehearse with her artists outside, in case Li Qingfu saw it and asked her to act. She was very busy now and did not have time to act. She was a manager and did not want to act. After the scenes, the 3 of them looked good. Hao Yi's performance was impeccable and Li Qingfu was very satisfied. Yin Zhuyun's role as Empress Dowager was also very good. Especially when she acted with Hao Yi, he decided on the spot. Shuxiang was slightly worse, but it could be seen that she had some foundation. When the time came for training, the effect would not be bad. Hence, Li Qingfu said that the 3 of them would use it and sign the contract. Then I will provide the costumes for the 3 of them. Tang Guo spoke again. In the system space, there were many costumes from different worlds. Finally, there was something that could be used. When she came, she even took some samples and showed them to Li Qingfu. When he saw the photos, Li Qingfu's lips trembled. Exquisite was not enough to describe it. The embroidery on it was superb. Li Qingfu felt that he had a beautiful dream today. After Tang Guo left with her people, he held the contracts in his hands and woke up. It was not a beautiful dream. Not long after, he received a huge sum of money. His heart almost jumped out of his chest. The money was in place and most of the props were provided. Then all that was left was all the actors. He definitely could not choose actors who were famous. He would go to the school and look for them one by one. Then, he would look for some old actors who were not famous but had good acting skills. According to the market price, this expenditure should not be too big. Actually, there were other supporting roles in this drama that were more outstanding. It was just a matter of whether those old actors were willing to act. Now that he had money, Li Qingfu was full of enthusiasm. He started to look for actors in a hurry. Naturally, the news that Li Qingfu was going to act in this drama slowly spread. After understanding the original novel, many people were interested in it and wanted to fight for the role. There were also some who were willing to invest a few million. There was even a person behind an artist who was willing to invest 10 million, but was rejected by Li Qingfu. When Tang Guo heard this, she invested another 20 million. Jiutao Li Qingfu, actually, he didn't think of agreeing. That artist's acting isn't good, and he doesn't want to ruin the script. However, since the money was already in his account, there was no point in rejecting it. He could only do his best to make this show. Perhaps he could buy the rights to broadcast it online. In the future, if it was approved, there would be television stations that would take a liking to it. Therefore, Li Qingfu was very serious about this matter. He did not let go of any details and felt that every place had to be carefully thought out. The boss behind the male artist who valued the role of the emperor felt that it was not worth it to spend 20 million yuan on him, so he sent him to another production team. Li Qingfu felt that it was better to announce the male lead as soon as possible and inform Tang Guo about it. So, Tang Guo brought her props, costumes, and most importantly, Hao Yi to take a photo shoot. Li Qingfu looked at the costumes and props brought by Tang Guo and couldn't help but put on a pair of gloves to touch them. Sure enough, the embroidery was exquisite. It was a little different from the costumes unearthed in history, but it didn't affect its beauty at all. After taking the photo, Li Qingfu couldn't wait to make the official announcement. Hao Yi cooperated and reposted it. Tang Guo also reposted it. After the artists under her saw it, they also reposted it. When Xingchen Corporation saw it, they also reposted it. This was their ace manager. As for Tang Guo investing in this show, they didn't know. If Tang Guo didn't take the initiative to say, no one would ask. She could get resources for Hao Yi, and the company couldn't wait. It wasn't a loss, so it was only right to repost it and support it. Li Qingfu didn't expect that a web drama would end up on the hot search list. Among them, Yu Jiwei and He Lei's reposts were the main reason why this show became a trending topic. The two of them had a total of 10 million fans. After they reposted it and supported it, they naturally received extra attention from their fans. To be honest, the majority of netizens were attracted by Hao Yi's appearance after seeing his photo. When the search results came out, they found out that this was the return of the popular young actor. Some congratulated him, some welcomed him, and some mocked him. They started to spread rumors about him. Actually, he didn't have any rumors. Most of them were made up by some people. Tang Guo didn't care about it for the time being. However, the system helped her write down the names of the people who had defamed Hao Yi. Li Qingfu was very fast. In a month, everything was ready. Hao Yi and the other two were packed and thrown into the production team. Tang Guo assigned a driver, assistant, and bodyguard to each of them. The peak. Chapter 42:19. In addition, she was the biggest investor. She moved everything into the villa and arranged for people to send the props to the production team. These were all professional bodyguards that she hired. These things were all exquisite, so they had to be careful. Especially for every weapon, she asked Qi Xiao to help her seal the opening with something to prevent the sword from being blind. There was no problem using them for filming. The sharp openings had all been removed with the help of immortals. It was impossible for mortals to let the sharp openings reappear. In terms of safety, it was over. When the cameras started rolling, what made Li Qingfu even more surprised was that Hao Yi actually knew martial arts. What kind of treasure did he pick up? He had also investigated Hao Yi and found out some things from back then. He felt that although Hao Yi had left the industry all these years, he really did not waste it. Originally, when it was the emperor's turn to write and write memorials, the camera would be divided into the hands and the actors. There would not be a scene of him writing the entire time. Because not all actors were well versed in calligraphy. But this was not necessary for Hao Yi at all. All the camera needed was the full body shot, bit by bit. Hao Yi's calligraphy was actually very good. When it came to the part where the emperor showed his skills and avoided the assassins, Li Qingfu realized that Hao Yi was especially handsome when playing with the sword. He could not help but film for a while. Li Qingfu also realized that Yin Zhuyun was not simple. This woman knew all kinds of etiquette, tea ceremony, and flower arrangement. These were really not difficult. She was already at a professional level. Therefore, Yin Zhuyun's Empress Dowager was not only noble, but also alive because of these things. She did all these things very naturally, without the slightest bit of pretense. Hence, Li Qingfu cast his gaze on Zhuxiang. He wondered what kind of surprise this young girl would bring to him. Zhuxiang did not disappoint him. Originally, there was a water sleeve dance in the script. Because Zhuxiang's hands were not bad and she had some dancing skills, after the teacher taught her, her performance was especially perfect. She could even dance in the palm of a person's hand without any pressure at all. Li Qingfu's heart thumped every day. Tang Guo saw that everyone was performing very well. The props she provided were also used. With one look, she knew that the setting was not skimped on. She was also in a good mood. This drama was already better than many star dramas. There should be a surprise when the time came. On the other hand, He Lei had already finished filming. He even came over to watch the drama. Sister Tang, Qing Xian is really not simple. In the end, she made a comeback. As long as the audience sees the final scene, they will not hate her character. Tanggua nodded her head, Sister Tanggua. He Lei said nonchalantly, what's there to be disappointed about? If this show can succeed, it will be the greatest benefit for me. Qing Xian's explanation made the audience feel that she was actually quite friendly towards Fan Shi's character. Didn't Sister Tang say that she just needed to focus on acting? There is no need to think so much. Good brother, you look like a real emperor. He Lei praised. He looked at Hao Yi who was filming like a little fanboy. As expected, a good brother was a good brother. Dear host, there's a lot of bad news about Hao Yi on the internet, especially the rumor that Hao Yi is a kept man. That's why he took on the male lead role as soon as he came back. Chapter 42:20. Got it. I'll get the company to release a statement to make our stance clear. Tang Guo wasn't surprised that Qi Dong would do such a thing. Let them continue to slander him. Hao Yi doesn't have any dirt on him. If they slander him too much, there will be a backlash. Have they kept all the evidence of Hao Yi's slandering? Don't worry. We have kept all the evidence and can use it any time. Tang Guo negotiated with the company and asked them to clear Hao Yi's name on the company's account. They didn't have to say much, they just had to say that it was a rumor and that Hao Yi was innocent. The company would investigate the source of the photo and clear Hao Yi's name. This was of no use to the ghostwriters and anti-fans. Tang Guo also knew that this was just an attitude. She also asked Hao Yi to post a message with a few simple words, the innocent knows they are innocent. He didn't have to say much. This post was just for his fans and to give the public an explanation. As for the anti-fans who wouldn't let it go, it wasn't within his consideration. Just focus on filming. I'll help you with the rest. Hao Yi replied, okay. Hao Yi didn't care how the netizens scolded him now. No matter how bad the words were, he would pretend not to see them. After seeing Hao Yi's post, the artists under Tangguo all reposted it. Except for Yu Jiwei, who didn't have a phone, no one left. They all tried to prove Hao Yi's innocence. This was the first time they had seen such a scene in the entertainment industry. Among all the artists, only Heelei had more fans. Heelei's core fan base was controlled by the system. Under his control, those brainless fans who wanted to cause trouble had already been fired. Those who stayed would listen to the system and wouldn't cause trouble. They even liked Heelei's post. Li Qingfu, who was busy filming, didn't pay attention to these things. He didn't believe that Tangguo couldn't handle such a small matter. She must have other ideas. As a tool, all he needed to do was focus on filming. At the moment, there were all kinds of scoldings online. Unknowingly, a post to boycott, "I only want to rule the world," appeared. The ghostwriters and anti-fans seemed to have taken stimulants and didn't want to let it go. For 3 days, Hao Yi only made a simple clarification statement and did not say anything else. The ghostwriters and anti-fans did not give up. The passers-by who were watching the show could no longer sit still. Passerby, you guys said that Hao Yi is being kept by someone, but those few pictures are still blurry. Isn't he just standing beside a luxury car and he's being seen as having a sugar daddy? Passerby B, I'm just a passerby, but even I can't take it anymore. I thought that you guys would release even bigger melons, but in the end, you're just saying the same few words over and over again. If you're so capable, why don't you catch me in bed? Passerby C, that's right. I've commented before that we shouldn't talk too much about such groundless things without any evidence. Otherwise, we might end up getting slapped in the face. Besides, it had already been a few days, and it was still the same few pictures. There was no concrete evidence at all. Was it so popular to slander people without any basis? I promise, I'll just say what's on there. In the end, I'll be beaten up into a fan of Hao Yi by those idiots. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have known who Hao Yi was. I even went to search for him and found out that he's so handsome that even gods and men would be angered. Passerby A, Hao Yi should have debuted 10 years ago. After he debuted, he was popular for a while. Later on, for some reason, he suddenly disappeared. I heard that he was banned by the company. Speaking of which, if he had a sugar daddy, would the company dare to ban him? I suspect that when he returned to play the male lead, he was seen as blocking the way. That's why they specially hired ghostwriters to slander him. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.